Forgive me, I've got goosebumps. Here we are, the start of the 2026 season of the Ferrari Challenge Europe. Welcome to the Paul Ricard circuit here in Castellet in France for our first race and our first race event of our 2026 season. And what an epic calendar we have in front of us, and what an epic place to start the 2026 calendar as well. So the Circuit Paul Ricard then is where we're at, and what a beautiful location, although the weather has not really played its part so far this weekend. It's been nice up until today, to be honest with you, and now, as you can see, lots of heavy cloud. This is our calendar for 2026. Here we are in Le Castellet. From here we head to Mugello, then Spielberg in Austria, followed by two races in support of the 24 hours at Le Mans. Then it's Portimao and Budapest, and Barcelona forms round 7, and not only round 7 but also the finale mondiale event of Ferrari for 2026. So as I mentioned, the weather conditions, track temperature currently 17 degrees, the air temperature a chilly 10 degrees, a bit of wind around, and we've had quite a lot of rain. Now, we think the rain has dissipated sufficiently and the track has dried sufficiently for slick tyres to be used on our Copa-Shell and Copa-Shell AM cars that will be out there on track for race 1. 30 minutes plus 1 lap to come of great racing from the Ferrari Challenge. And it's Jan Sandman that put it on pole position for the Shell drivers, and Lucas Asato for the Shell AM drivers, and that would indicate that it is indeed slick tyres, and those are the tyres on the car of Sven Schirmer, last year's Ferrari Challenge Copa-Shell AM champion, with Andrea Gagliardini, his driver coach, offering final words of advice to Sven Schirmer, who goes from P2 in class, but is actually P3 on the grid. He'll be starting from the second row, because following the qualifying session, whether you're a Shell driver, which means you've got a yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, or you're a Shell AM driver with a black strip across the top of the windscreen, you line up on the grid where you finished qualifying. So whether you're a Shell or a Shell AM driver, it matters not. This is Boris Gideon then. He's going from P3 in class, but he's P7 on the grid overall. And there is the familiar shark's teeth fronted car of 177 von Skeltermar. Great qualifying from von Skeltermar. Third in class, and he goes from the second row of the grid. Full of concentration is von Skeltermar, a regular long-term campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge. The Ferrari Challenge would not be the Ferrari Challenge without the shark's teeth on his car. And good to see Fons there. So Jan Salmon, Lucas Asato, and yeah, everyone at the moment we think on the slick tyres. And that's certainly the case for von Skeltermar there. Certainly all the qualifying sessions were on wet weather tyres. I did wonder towards the end of one of the quali sessions whether we might get onto slicks, but that was never, ever going to happen. Here is Lucas Asato then. What a great job he's done on his debut in the Ferrari Challenge for Castellet Racing. P1 in class and P2 on the grid overall, so he is a Castellet driver in the Shell AM category. Interestingly, Jan Sandman right alongside him, also a Castellet Racing driver, but in the Shell category, so it's a lockout on the front row for the Castellet drivers. As we look at the car of Alois Maire right now, the Gome Motorsport Engstler driver, giving us a bit of a wave just before the off. And I remind you, the Ferrari Challenge racing here on the tarmac, of course, but we also race on ice sometimes. Very enjoyable, particularly when we go off to fairly exotic locations like Lapland, which we will show you in due course. I have to say I love driving sideways. It's sometimes not the quickest, but it's such a feeling of satisfaction using opposite lock. That was great, great images there. Pino Frascaro will be starting from the pit lane. Incidentally, that on ice sequence that you saw a few moments ago, part organised by Tony Vilander, Ferrari driver ambassador, successful racing driver, and a guy that has spent some time on the air with me as well. And now I believe Tony is president or chairman or some head honcho of the Finnish Racing Authority. Well done and congratulations, Tony. Great guy. So too is Eric Chung. It's a warm welcome back to Eric Chung in the 198 car. I'd like to introduce alongside me, joining me in comms, a brief introduction because something will disturb us, I'm sure. One of our Ferrari factory drivers who's raced in so many different categories, Alessio Rovera. Welcome.
Ciao Dave, ciao everyone at home.
Great to have you here with us and offering a driver's eye perspective in commentary. And of course, you've been offering a driver's eye perspective, I'm given to understand, in race control as well.
Yeah, it's another type of job here. Not behind the wheel, but it's nice to understand also the work of the race direction, the steward. So it's really nice. And yeah, following the Ferrari Challenge is always a good opportunity to be on the other side of the circuit.
Well, we'll be talking to you plenty during the course of the race. And I have to say, to let you into a little secret here, Alessio Rovera said to me, even before we got on the air, Dave, everyone is going to be on slicks. And you were right, Alessio.
Yeah, because this morning there was a lot of rain. Actually, we were speaking before, the drivers were amazing because there were no mistakes. There was so much water on track. And now, as you can see, the track is damp, but the line is dry. So everyone choose for the dry tires, and I think is the right choice.
Thank you so much, Alessio. Right, Ferrari Challenge around the world, including in Australia, of course, supporting Bathurst, and their season got underway, and as you would expect, did nothing other than entertain at 100% as the cars took to the famous Bathurst track. What a place it is, and what a place it is to be with the Ferrari Challenge. Despite my many hints, I've never been invited to be part of Ferrari Challenge Australia. Alessio, I know you've driven this Mount circuit. It's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I was there last year for the 12 hours.
Yes.
And it's such a special track, so different to the others. When you are there, you have uphill, downhills, and honestly, I needed some laps to understand how it's working, but yeah, it's so beautiful, and yeah, it's so nice to drive here.
And there's always plenty of entertainment in the Ferrari Challenge, as you can see. Right, this is the Circuit Paul Ricard, 5.842 kilometers. 15 turns, 6 left, 9 right. It was built in 1969, would you believe? First race, though, was held in 1970, and we're about 50 kilometers or so from Marseille, which, dependent upon the traffic, you can get here in about 45 minutes, maybe an hour or so. Depends how keen you are on the throttle. And here we can see the cars standing by to go racing. We're looking forward already. We will bring you the grid in full of our Shell and Shell-Am drivers. A reminder to you, the Shell drivers, well, their color code is yellow. The Shell-Am drivers, their color code is black. That applies to the car windscreen and that applies also to the graphics you'll see on screen as we're on board the Richard Mills safety car. Here we go from back to front. Here comes the grid. Stephen Earle goes from the 13th row, P25. It's P24, Pino Frascaro starting from the pit lane. Ken Sato is alongside him. It's Alvaro Ramos and Alexei Komarov going from the row 11. Lisa Clark, welcome Lisa, going from P20, and Alexandra Lima alongside. It's Paolo Scudieri and Henrik Kamstrup, 18 and 17, both Copa Chalam drivers, as is Masaru Yaneda, and Leon Rinbeck is a Shell driver. Ivan David Mari and Fritz Müller go from P14 and P13 on our grid, with Charles Chan and Andreas Koenig P12 and P11. Koenig could be a danger man from there. Alvar Meyer going from P10 with Shintaro Akatsu alongside. Eric Chung and Boris Gideon, well, they share row 4. It's P8 and P7. Jean Rioux from P6 and Tibor Valent from P5. It's von Skeltemar and Sven Schirmer, P4 and P3. And on the front row of the grid, Lucas Azato, and our pole sitter is Jan Sandman.
From south of France today in the rain. We had the first qualifying session of the season. I was really looking forward to it. The conditions are really how I like them, and we grooved in for the first half of the session, and also the last 10 minutes we tried to push hard, and yeah, I found a good line at the end, and my goal was just to do this line without a track limit, and we made it on the very last lap, and I'm happy about this, and I'm looking forward for the rest of the season, and of course we expect to stay on P1 also for the race if we don't have any issues with the car or incidents. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan. He grooved in, Alessio. Is that something that you try and do, get in the groove before the race starts?
Yeah, exactly. now the job that the driver has to do in the warm-up lap is trying to put temperature in the tires.
Yes.
Especially in this condition where you can see on tracks there are some wet patches.
Yes.
And in the first lap they will be really cautious on the curbs, because the curbs are still quite damp, and you have to understand how much to use them, and this is the crucial part in the first part of the race.
And the other consideration, presumably because it has been raining, is that the track temperature is colder than it would be ordinarily. Therefore, it will take a bit longer, will it not, to generate that heat?
Exactly. The first laps will be, as I said, they will be crucial, and then we will see some good moves and some good overtakes.
Well, this is going to be interesting. We ride on board with Sven Schirmer, who, of course, won the Copa Chalam Championship last year from the man that's in front of him. And that is Jan Sandman, who is the pole sitter. So that's going to be interesting going into turn number 1. Here is the Riller and Schnauk driver, Boris Gideon, going from P3 in the Copa Chalam grid. But of course, is race 1 about to get underway, heading towards the lighting gantry. Let's go racing. Good start from Jan Sandman. Lucas Asato with a good start. Sven Schirmer trying to get alongside Lucas Asato into turn number 1. And is Sven Schirmer going to be close enough? No, he isn't, I don't think. Sven Schirmer does indeed go through and gets over Lucas Asato and goes into P2. So now it's Jan Sandman P1 and Sven Schirmer P2. Von Skeltemar also looking very lively. So too Tibor Valent and Shintaro Akatsu as well. And Andreas Koenig looking lively too. He's moved up 1, if not 2 places from the very start. We've done the first sequence of corners. So Jan Sandman will try and build something of a gap over Sven Schirmer. Sven Schirmer, of course, will try and keep with him. We can see cars side by side just behind as they continue to race on this first lap. And it was a great start from our Ferrari Challenge drivers, which was really good to see, particularly as was mentioned that there are parts of the track where inevitably there is a bit of dampness, and you can see 1 or 2 cars running wide. I mean, a huge advantage here is the fact that you've got acres and acres of tarmac runoff area, which of course somebody like yourself is used to, and that's really advantageous to avoid barriers, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Paul Ricard is a unique track because, as you said, the barriers are quite far, and this is why it's also a good track for testing, because you can try, you can make mistakes, and somehow you have more chance to don't finish in the bars.
Around has gone the 180 car of Alwar, the Gome Motorsport Extra driver, and that was just a classic example, Alessio, of what you were saying there. You can try things, you can make a mistake. Actually, you're not going to hit a barrier necessarily, and therefore it's sometimes worth taking that risk.
Exactly. Also because there was the fastest corner on track is Signe after the mid-start straight, and
yes.
In these cars is more or less at 200 kph, so quite fast.
I have to say that Mistral straight is extraordinary, and that is how Alwar went around, and that's, you know, you're on a knife edge, aren't you, Alessio? You know, the knife edge of grip before the back end of the car lets go.
Yeah, exactly. The errors of the car in this corner is so important, and especially now, probably the tires were not in the right window, in the right conditions, so he just lost the rear, and but he could continue, so this is the most important thing.
Of course. Andreas Koenig has moved up 4 places and now finds himself P3 in Class P7 in the race overall. So Andreas Koenig doing a very good job out there. Boris Gideon we're following right now, and right behind Boris Gideon is Tibor Valent, another Shell driver. I remind you that on the graphics on the left-hand side of the screen, if the track position is coloured yellow, it means it's a Shell driver. If it's coloured black, it means it's a Shell AM driver. That's how we distinguish between the two, and those colour schemes apply to the windscreen of the car as Tibor Valent then going for the outside of Boris Gideon now, king of the late breakers, going into this chicane, and Tibor Valent then, I think, Alessio, that was textbook, wasn't it?
That was a really nice move. In the toe for all the straight, and then really nice braking, and yeah, I think that the overtake point are here on the Mistral straight in the chicane, and also in the braking on the first corner.
Okay.
These are the two main overtaking points.
This is one of the first tracks, Alessio, where a factory driver like yourself took me for a hot lap around here. And hot is not the word. I mean, it was boiling. I mean, it was such a fast lap, and made me respect and realize just what you can do in these wonderful cars.
Yeah, it's so nice, as we said. But this track make you feel like safe.
Yes.
Because for what we said, the barriers are so far, and so I think also as a passenger you feel more safe, and probably you feel also less the speed compared to another type of track.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's a fair point. As we ride on board here with Sven Schirmer, this is a replay of the start. This is how he managed to get himself into that P2 position. But Jan Sandman, right at the front, has done a very good job. He's built a margin of 1.7 seconds over the second place driver. Now, of course, Sven Schirmer here, who is P2, he's got Fons Skeltermar right up his bottom, and Fons is. That means that Sven is losing speed because he's thinking about having to defend rather than attack the car in front. So that's always a difficult position, isn't it?
Yeah, he's in the position, as you said, where Skeltermar is really close to him, and he's just watching the back of his car. And I have to say, Sandman is really fast. When you find the 1.8 seconds in the first 2 laps, it means you have another pace, and so I think he can create a much greater margin, and we'll see. Now he has a track limit for this lap.
Ah, there you go. And you do have to be careful now, as I understand it, and I'm sure Alessio Rovera will correct me if I'm wrong. The track limits with regards to Ferrari Challenge racing is thus. You can get 3 track limits warnings. Once you get a 4th warning, you then pick up a time penalty. And that time penalty, then, if you repeat, you get bigger time penalties and bigger time penalties. And you've almost got 3 get-out-of-jail-free cards, Alessio. Now, tell me, as a professional driver, do you use those?
It's quite difficult to stay in between the white lines here, I have to say. And they have just 4 shots, and then you have 5 seconds penalty.
Yeah.
And after other 4, you have 10 seconds penalty.
Oh.
So start to be a big penalty. You have to be fast, you have to stay in between the white lines, and you have to be smart as well.
Yeah. Okay, Fons Skeltermar continues to put the pressure on Sven Schirmer. Let's just very briefly talk about your year last year, because you were a very busy Ferrari factory driver.
Yeah, I have to say it was a quite good year, quite positive. We finished second in the WC with my teammates Simon Mann and François Heriot.
Simon's a great guy.
Yeah.
And Simon's father, who I know really well, is a
I
great
have to
guy
say,
too.
we are a great team. We enjoy to spend the weekends together, and he improves so much. So we finished third in 24, second in 25. So we hope in 26 to.
There's one place going then.
Yeah. There was a spin in T4. I don't know who.
Okay. Well done for picking that up. I'm sure we'll see a replay of that in just a moment. And the plans for 2026 are?
2026 again, WEC.
Yep.
With the same car,
Same team.
26 Evo.
Yep.
With the new car, and GT World Challenge Europe in the Endurance Championship.
Fantastic. Well, as always, you will deliver. I have no doubt of that. It remains Sandman, Schirmer and Skeltermar, and we're watching the battle for P2 at the moment. And von Skeltermar having just set a fastest lap. Sven Schirmer is really under the cosh here, but to be fair, I've been watching closely while listening to you as well. He's defending really well and very fairly.
Yeah, this is what we like. A good fight, but fair. And
this is his driver coach, Andrea Gagliardini. What will he be saying to Sven now?
I think now probably he's saying that Sandman is too fast, because 2.7 seconds is quite a lot. And so be focused, concentrate on not making mistakes, because Skelterman is really fast now.
He is really
and he's
fast.
really close as well.
And those teeth on the front of his car seem to be very sharp now, Alessio.
Yeah.
I think it's a question of when, not if, that he's going to go for it.
Also, this corner is a good overtaking opportunity. If you find the right line, you can try to dive on the inside.
Right, let's see where Fons is going to have a go on Sven Schirmer then, diving to the inside just to try and get a slingshot to go to the other side of the track. But as you say, Jan Salmon, who's building up a 2.779 margin right now because Sven Schirmer's rear view screen is full of the von Skeltermar car. The reason I say rear view screen is because these 296 Challenge cars do not have an interior rear view mirror. They have a rear view screen because of the big safety bulkhead behind the driver in these wonderful cars. And every driver tells me it gives you a more expansive view of what's going on behind you. It's better than any interior rear view mirror. Is that true, Alessio?
Yeah, we use the same in our GT3 in WEC and GT World Challenge. And as you said, we have a clear view of what is happening in the back. Of course, you have the lateral mirrors, which are helping a lot. But the rear camera is so important now.
Here's Fons then, again denied into that chicane by Sven Schirmer, who just... And that's part of being a good racing driver. It's knowing where to position the car, Alessio, so that your one opportunity is denied.
Yeah, it's more difficult to defend than to attack.
Okay.
Especially in this condition, I think von Skelterman is quite much faster than Schirmer, so he's doing a really great job.
Well, we have the expert opinion of Alessio Rovera, then Ferrari factory driver, with us in comms, and we're delighted that Alessio is here. Could give him a break for a moment or two as we continue to watch this battle now. Joining in that battle, and not far away, is Lucas Azato, who wants to be in on it, and then it's Boris Gideon right behind as well, and then Andreas Koenig. But they, of course, are 1, 2, 3 in the Cobra Shell AM class, so there's kind of no particular advantage other than track position for Azato to really go for it, and in terms, he may as well just let these two fight away on their own. And of course it does mean that they are slower though, and that's why he's able to get on terms with them, which the only disadvantage that gives him is that Boris Gideon might be able to get closer to him as well. So here, von Skeltermar, he's done it. That was the place and that was one of the places where you said it could happen.
Yeah, really nice move, late on the brakes, and now we will see his real pace, because in the last lap they lost 2 seconds to Sandman just because they were fighting. So now we'll see if Skeltermar has the speed to catch Sandman.
Okay, so where are we? 18 and 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this race, and Skeltermar now has put it into P2. That means he's moved up 2 places since the start of the race, and the chase may be on to Jan Sandman, who has built up an extraordinary lead of 6.074 seconds. And now under real pressure is Sven Schirmer. There's no question about it that he is not the quickest driver out there, as Lucas Azato's trying to go through as well, and side by side they go at the midpoint of the Mistral Straight. And this was what I was afraid might happen, is Boris Gideon, of course, has now got on terms, and so there's a fight for the lead in the Copa Shell Am Championship, and at the moment Boris Gideon has just got his nose in front of Lucas. Lucas fights back though, holds onto the car, just keeps it within the white lines, and is able to hold on to that P1 position for the moment. But Boris Gideon is certainly having a go here.
Yeah, also because this is an important place, because it's for third position in Shell, and Gideon is Shell Am is in first position. Yeah, now it's Lucas.
Yes,
Azzato is first position now.
Lucas Azzato, there's Sven Schirmer, side by side again they go. Boris Gideon really close to them as well. And whoa, this is getting really tight now, but Lucas Azzato goes through, Sven Schirmer runs wide, so all of a sudden, right, we're back to the fight now for P1 in Shell Am, aren't we? Because Lucas Azzato and Boris Gideon are back together again. Sounds like a Janet Jackson record. And Sven Schirmer now, whilst he's still P3 in class, he's actually P5 on track. So a point you made, Alessio, was when you were looking at the timing screen, there's no question about it that Sven has got a speed deficit, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's quite, I don't know why, maybe it's a problem in the setup, but he's suffering quite a lot. He's lacking some pace. And looking in the front, Skeltema and Sandman, they are in the same pace, so
yeah, because
4.5 seconds
narrowed that gap.
Yeah.
Tell me, Alessio, you're a racing driver, not an engineer. I accept that. However, you influence the engineer. Yeah. How different is the setup from wet weather that they had in qualifying, and then dry weather, which they have now for the race?
Yeah, normally in the wet condition, you try to rise a bit the car, because of the water, of course, on the track, and to reduce aquaplaning. And then you try to have a softer car, because of course you have less grip, so to have a car that is rolling a bit more, you have more traction. It's a bit lazier car, but you have much more grip in wet conditions.
Interesting to hear how those cars are different then, and how the setup is different when it comes to running in dry or wet weather conditions. So there is our race leader, Jan Salmon, and now you can see von Skeltema in the shot as well. Jan, of course, has had the privileged position, having built a big margin where he could just focus on what he's doing, but not have to push perhaps too hard. Whereas now, probably his team are telling him, von Skeltema is getting closer to you. He might have turned it up a little bit.
Yeah, also because they are in the same team, so it's
that's
in the family.
That's a good point. Yeah, they're both Castellet racing drivers. Jan Salmon, who was P2 in the Copa Shell Am Championship last year, elevated to Copa Shell this year. Von Skeltema, who has been a long-term campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge. And he's chasing down our race leader right now. Paolo Scudieri, Alexei Komarov and Ivan David Mari. There's quite a queue of cars here. Ivan David Mari then, and Lisa Clark's in that mix, as well as Alvaro Ramos from Portugal. And Alexei Komarov and Paolo Scudieri side by side here. And this is for P15 on track. Paolo Scudieri goes through, and
nice move.
Yeah, Alexei Komarov then losing out on one place there, and Paolo Scudieri does go through. Next in the target sights, perhaps, will be Leon Rindbeek, who is just ahead of the Lisa Clark car. Lisa Clark driving the blue and orange coloured car. 4.228 is the gap now down right at the front of the pack between Jan Salmon and von Skeltema. And we keep our eyes on Paolo Scudieri then, chasing down Ivan David Mari, who is driving the 191 car that you can see center screen right now, just gone through. Lovely train of cars there, and good to see Stephen Earle back out and competing, because Stephen Earle had a problem during qualifying where he lost the back end of the car and ended up in the barriers, which caused a lengthy stoppage to the qualifying session, but what was really encouraging to see was the fact that the integral safety of these 296 Challenge cars means that you can take a heavy impact into the barriers, but the driver is as well protected as is humanly possible. And that must be a reassurance to you, Alessio. You know, you feel safe driving these racing cars.
Yeah, it's so important to have a fast and especially safe car. And with the 296 we have the good mix, no?
Yeah, I agree.
A really good car, really safe cars, and especially the Ferrari Challenge, which is a car with 700 horsepower, is delivering such an amazing pace, and it's such a safe car.
This is the quickest Challenge car ever, isn't it? It's an amazing car. 4.3 the gap now, because von Skeltermar has just set a fastest lap. I'm just looking at the timing screen. You can see now, this is something that always interests me, Alessio. When you're flashing your lights, I mean, does it really work?
Sometimes it's just trying to have a psychological war with the driver in front to tell him that you are there, you feel you are quicker, and you are just trying everything to put him in pressure, under pressure, and makes a mistake.
Yeah, because that's all that takes, isn't it? It's a momentary lapse in concentration, and that would be enough for somebody like you to be like a viper ready to bite its prey. You would be through, wouldn't you? Do you like the way I romantically described you? That was a viper after his prey. And that's precisely what Paolo Scudieri is doing there in terms of flashing his lights at Ivan David Mari. To be fair to Ivan, it hasn't worked. He's held on to his line, although now, commentators curse, I think, because all the way around the outside goes Paolo Scudieri, and now on the inside is Alexei Komarov. I think he's done him as well. So
he's coming back.
Now Paolo Scudieri under pressure from Alexei Komarov, and Alexei goes through. So Paolo initially made the overtake, but created the hole, if you like, for Alexei to take advantage of that as well. Stephen Earle on Lisa Clark right behind, a little bit of contact. Thankfully, car still pointing in the right direction. Maybe a puncture now.
Probably.
Oh, that was all happening just as we were talking about it.
It was quite optimistic to try to overtake the driver right, but we have to see a replay to understand better.
They're listening to you.
Okay, this is the overtake from Scudieri on the outside.
Okay, well, that wasn't the replay of the bit that we thought we were going to see, but Alexei Komarov, he's got pace now, because look how he's got away from Paolo Scudieri and Ivan David Mari. Then he's now being chased by Lisa Clark. So a lot going on. Back to the front of the pack, and we're watching Lucas Azzato here, and Boris Gideon right behind. Then it is Sven Schirmer, who's about to come under pressure from Andreas Koenig. And I think Jan Sandman right at the front of the pack is just managing the gap perfectly to von Skeltermar. It's kind of seesawing between 3.6, 3.8 and 4 seconds. So he's got a comfortable margin, I think.
Yeah, Skeltermar is just gaining, but tenths per lap. So now he's 10 minutes to the end is not enough.
Yeah. That would be a big work, wouldn't it? So as we see here, Yonedo and Roux having a nice battle here. Driver from Formula Racing, driver from Castellet Racing. Jean Roux and Masaru Yonedo fighting over P7 and P8 in the Copichal AM class, and also trying to buy into that battle is Fritz Müller. So Fritz Müller driving the car that is engineered by the Go Motorsport and Engstler team, and we can see there as we split the screen the Dr. Stephen Earle car back into the pit lane. Here's our race leader, Jan Sandman, then with the driver that's P2, exactly 4.9 seconds behind, and that is von Skeltermar, before we see Lucas Azzato and Boris Gideon. They are P1 and P2 in the Copichal AM. The previous drivers are P1 and P2 in the Shell category. Two categories racing together here in Ferrari Challenge.
Yeah, for Steven Earle it was more than a puncture. It was broken suspension probably.
He's such a lovely man. He lives in Texas, chooses to race in this Ferrari Challenge Europe Series and has done for many, many years. Such is its appeal. And there's Charlie Hollings, his driver coach, will be speaking to him and encouraging him as he's out of the car. And we're watching Alexei Komarov and the multicolored car of Alexei Komarov being chased down by the 191 car of Ivan David Mari and Paolo Scudieri just ahead. Is Paolo Scudieri doing the chasing. It's amazing that the teams that engineer these cars and support their drivers, it's always an expression that's oft used in
of the job of others as well. So you feel the weight of all the team because you have to deliver, you have to do it for yourself, but you have to do it also for the team and for your teammates. So when you win as a team, and then when you lose as a team. I think this is the most important thing in the world of racing.
This is a replay of Alexei Komarov and Ivan David Mari swapping places there, and Paolo Scudieri taking advantage of that for a moment to build 2 or 3 car lengths of advantage. Here is Boris Gideon just getting a little bit closer to Lucas Azato now. We're into the final stages of this race with 6 1/4 minutes plus 1 lap to run, and Jan Sandman having built now a margin over Fons Skeltermeyer of just over 6 seconds, which means I would suggest that he's in a fairly comfortable position out front, and barring any disaster that should befall him, then he should be in an okay position. The top 3 for the Shell drivers, Jan Sandman, Fons Skeltermeyer and Sven Schirmer. Top 3 for the AM drivers, Azato, Gideon and Koenig.
Honestly, I'm really impressed about the track limits because they were all really clean, all the drivers. There is just Sandman in the first position with 1 track limit, and really great job from all the drivers.
When you consider that this is Shell and Shell AM, so the how can I say it? The drivers with perhaps the least experience of racing. You know, I think the race has been really exciting and really clean and tidy as well.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They are doing an amazing job. Already in the start, at the start was really difficult because, as we said, the track was dry, but there were wet patches, and they didn't make mistakes. So really well done to them.
Or through the speed cam they go then, and into this chicane in the Mistral Straight. I mean, the Mistral Straight without this chicane, my goodness me, that would be a straight and a half, wouldn't it? I mean, it's an obvious thing to say, but yeah. I mean, it's quick enough anyway, isn't it?
In GT World Challenge, we do the long straight, and it's amazing when you arrive to Sin Corner.
Go on, what speed?
180, yes, it's something else. And I have to say, with this car, probably it will be a bit too much because, as we said, they are so powerful. They are so powerful, 700 horsepower. So probably you can reach more than 300 with these cars. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Alexandre Lime then has just made his way past Alexei Komarov, and next in the target sights will be Lisa Clark, who will be fancying her chances of getting by Alexei Komarov as well. Alexei engineered by the Scuderia Prague team. As we were mentioning just a few moments ago, all these drivers and cars are run by teams that share in the success and the downfalls of the drivers just as much as the drivers themselves. And Sandman leading this race for the Shell drivers, and Azato leading the race for the AM drivers, and yet another overtake going on here, and there have been quite a few overtakes. That's for sure. During the course of this race, Charles Chan, Shintaro Akatsu are running at the moment in P10 and P9 respectively, and looking at the Charles Chan car, having just got up to P6, having gone past the car of Roux, the Kessel Racing driver. The gap now, you can see from the last lap, 2 seconds difference. So Castellet Racing P1, P2 in the Shell drivers, Castellet Racing P1 in the AM drivers as well. So for the Castellet team, it's turning out to be quite a pleasant afternoon in Copershell and Copershell AM. The eponymous team, of course, that's run by Ronnie Castellet. And we have 2.5 minutes and a lap remaining then. As Charles Chan then, who's chosen that matte blue colour for his 296 Challenge car this time around. And, well, whilst he was in that P6 position, losing out now to Rue, who's gone back by. So lots going on still in this race, that's for sure, for the Ferrari Challenge Copershell and Copershell AM. So Sandman, Skeltermar P1 and P2 for our Shell drivers, Azato and Gideon P1 and P2. So that means that Azato, Boris Gideon P1 and P2 in the Shell AM drivers, with Andreas Koenig P3. Those would be our podium places, if you will, if everything were to stay as it is right now. Yoneda and Fritz Muller here arguing over what's P12 and P13 overall. Yoneda in the light blue colours and Fritz Muller in the red and white 296 Challengers. Is that Tibor Valin on his way out of the pit lane? He'd been in the pit lane for some curious reason, we know not why. And this, our race leader overall and race leader in Shell, and that is Jan Sandman for Castellet Racing. His best lap at 2:06.350. And I was speaking to Jan earlier in the week, and where Jan is resident, he wasn't absolutely sure that he was going to be able to make it here to the south of France this weekend. The car was going to be here, but whether he personally could get here, he has, and he'll be pretty pleased that he has as well. So his performance thus far has been very, very impressive. Salmon and Skeltermar P1 and P2, Azato and Gideon P1 and P2 in terms of the Shell AM drivers. Not much elevation change here at Paul Ricard, is there?
No, the track is quite flat. There is a bit of elevation going on the Mistra Straight going to Signes. But yeah, the track is quite flat. Also the curbs are really flat, so you can use them without problems. You just have to be careful in the first lap with low pressure on the tires. But yes, as you can see, they are cutting everything, and also this kind of track, the Ferrari Challenge, is helping quite a lot on the curbs.
You're talking there about the pressures. Pressures increase when you race.
Yeah.
And sometimes, depending on the weather conditions, track conditions, etc., you can manipulate those tire pressures to be advantageous, can't you?
Yeah, tire pressure is one of the most important things in a racing car, especially because the tire is the only part of the car that is touching the ground.
Of course,
so,
yes.
it's such an important part, and you can start with higher pressure, you will be faster in the first laps. If you start with lower pressure, you will be faster in the last part of the race, so you have to find a compromise.
And that is something that you are able to pass on, that feedback to your engineers, as we see Cyril von Skeltermar's partner there. Always a smile for the camera, that's nice. But yeah, that's information that you can pass on to the engineers as well, because you feel the car, you know, don't you?
Yeah, of course. Especially when, like here, it's half an hour of racing, so you can start with, I think, higher pressure, because you need to push from the beginning. But when you start to do 1 hour and a half, probably you need to start a bit lower.
Yeah, we would consider these races to be sprint races, wouldn't we? And that's very different to endurance racing, when you're racing, as you say, for a longer period of time, as Alexei Komarov under some pressure here. That's for sure, as Alexei has been under pressure for a little while here. But mentally, how do you must have to adapt if you're racing in two categories, and maybe you're doing endurance racing and you're doing sprint challenge racing as well. They're different disciplines. That's what I'm trying to ask, Alessio.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to. No, it's not difficult. It's really different, because in the sprint race you really have to give everything you have. It's just half an hour, and you can use also the car in a harsh way, you know. Using the curbs, maybe having some contacts. In endurance racing is different. You start, you try to avoid contact. You are a bit kinder with the car, and because you need to arrive in the last hour of the race where the car is perfect.
Gotcha. We're on the final lap of this Ferrari Challenge race, the first race of the 2026 calendar, as Alexei Komarov loses out on another place. And car 127 is the first car to receive a time penalty for track limits. You'll see that on the screen in just a moment or so's time. But that's credit to all the drivers that only one driver picks up a track limit penalty after some 30 minutes plus one lap of racing here in the Ferrari Challenge Shell and Shell Am. Jan Sandman, Fons Skeltemar, Luke Zazato and Boris Gideon, then the top two in the Shell drivers, top two in the Shell Am drivers. What a brilliant race we've enjoyed with Alvaro Ramos, and there you can see confirmation of that time penalty, as I mentioned, that is going to be applied to just one driver, only one driver picking up a time penalty, and that is Alexander Lima, who picks up that time penalty for exceeding the track limits 4 times. And he's not going to get another time penalty because there's no time in the race for him to be able to do that. So, and being on the final lap then, we'll pick up on Jan Sandman in just a moment. And as if by magic, there is our race leader overall, Jan Sandman, who I have to say has been chased valiantly by Fons Skeltemar, who has narrowed the gap at times to just under 4 seconds, and it stays at 4.7 right now. But Jan Sandman will be thrilled with his performance in this race. He took P2 in the Shell Am Championship last year, but he did get a title. He won the world final race, and he's going to win the first race of 2026. And he takes the checkered flag. Jan Sandman, a winner. Fons Skeltemar taking a really good P2. And those the top two in the Shell drivers. It's going to be Lucas Azato, who wins in the 138 car for Castellet Racing in the Shell Am category. He too sees the checkered flag, and it's going to be Boris Gideon that takes P2 in Shell Am. Sven Schirmer should still take a podium. He does. He takes P3 in Shell, and Andreas Koenig takes P3 in Shell Am. So a clean and tidy race that deserves applause, and that's exactly what the Castellet team are doing, because they've got a number of drivers. They're going to actually see across the 2 categories 3 drivers on the podium, so that's real success for that team, Alessio.
It's amazing for Castellet. They did an amazing job, and overall it's 3 cars in the top 3, so it's amazing.
And this is the man that's done the best job of the lot. Jan Sandman then competed, as I say, in Copa Shell Am last year. Came close to sealing the championship. It was a fantastic, I mean, honestly, Alessio, the racing between this driver, Jan Sandman, and Sven Schirmer last year kept us on the edge of our seats so many times. The mental battles that were going on as well, with different T-shirts with different logos on it. I mean, it was all in good humor, but it was just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And the battle is going to continue in Shell this year as well, so that's good to see. And there is Sven Schirmer. He will be a little bit disappointed, I suspect, to have only taken P3. Alessio, I think you've got to go to the podium. Thank you so much for being with us and for your insights.
Thank you, Dave.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we'll release Alessio to go off to podium duties, and that means we'll be talking about him in a moment when he's gone. Jan Sandman, Fons Skeltemar, and Sven Schirmer, the top 3 Shell drivers. The top 3 Am drivers, Lucas Azato, Boris Gideon, and Andreas Koenig. So cars making their way around the 5.8 kilometers then to make their way back to the pit lane and the Parc Ferme area. And if that's some indication of the racing we can look forward to in terms of clean and tidy, exciting racing, bring on the season.
Oh my God, fuck. 2 laps I was going slow. Oh, thank you, no.
Here they come. First of all, Jan Sandman.
Oh, 2 laps, I think not possible. You see how slow I go?
out of the car. Any colourful language we apologise for. It's the emotions of drivers, of course, right at the end of a tiring race, physicality and mentally as well. So the head and neck support, the hands device, as you'll hear it called, coming off of Jan Salmon, the helmet and hands device, which as you can see are connected, and then the fireproof balaclava, of course. He'll be thrilled with the win. Well done to Jan Sandman. Baseball cap goes on.
What a race.
David Fuminelli there to...
I don't know, because the fuel is correct.
I was full of power and pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, probably is for the fuel tank.
Well, and again, apologies for any colourful language that clearly there was a concern that Jan had that he might be running out of fuel. David there just saying the fuel was correct. Here's von Skeltermar. Bravo, mate. No, this is Lucas Azato, I beg your pardon.
Bravo, cazzo. Good job, mate. Good job.
We can see the von Skeltermar car alongside. Here's Sven Schirmer out of the car. Andrea there, his driver coach. No doubt about it that it felt like Sven had something of a speed deficit. You can tell from his emotions there. Right, here's confirmation of the classification then. Jan Salmon, von Skeltermar, P1, P2 overall. Lucas Azato, Boris Gideon, P1, P2, but P3 and P4 in the race overall. They're the top two in each of the categories. Sven Schirmer taking P5, but P3 in class. And Shintaro Akatsu Lucas Azato, Boris Gideon, and Andreas Koenig. Sorry, I was just looking at the timing screen as well as the graphics that I could see on screen. Let's hear from our race winner right now, and that's Jan Sandman.
Jan, congratulations. What an incredible...
Well, we will hear from Jan Salmon in just a moment. We're going to see his car first of all, and that is the 186-296 Challenge car. So Jan Salmon then taking the win from von Skeltermar and Sven Schirmer. For the AM drivers, Lucas Azato, Boris Gideon and Andreas Koenig. So Castellet Racing having a good time of it.
Jan, congratulations. What an incredible start of the season for you, and an incredible work with your team and with your coach. So I want to rely with you your feeling during all the race today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was an amazing start, amazing qualifying in the morning. Now a nice race in the dry. Yeah, I just enjoyed the race. Tried to manage the race and control the race perfectly until the end. Yeah, then we had a small issue. On the last 3 laps, we had no fuel anymore, no power in the car. So I had to go slow, and I was absolutely not happy with this because I was scared that the car would just break down. But yeah, we managed to keep it going and managed to be the first in the finish. Thank you so much.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well done to Jan Sandman. We will, of course, be hearing from Lucas Azato as well, who's the best of the AM drivers. Here's his car right now. Okay, let's hear from Lucas Azato.
Lucas, congratulations. What an incredible race for you and your team. You have a good experience and a good leader of the track. So I want to discover with you, how do you build this important result?
Yeah, how I achieved this result. Yeah, I've been pushing myself to the limit. Had to concentrate a lot, and especially the end, because it was my first race, so I was a bit nervous. Still now, so yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ferrari Challenge about to get underway for the first race of the season. Great start from Jan Sandman, who'd put the car on pole position right through a very, very treacherous qualifying in the wet, dry weather conditions for the drivers for race one. And Jan Sandman absolutely nailing the start. Early on, he was under a bit of pressure from Sven Schirmer, but once he'd got his nose in front, he was going to build as big a gap as he possibly could. We ride on board with Sven Schirmer, who was being chased as well as doing some chasing at the same time. Lots going on, and for Alwar Mayer, a lot of it was going sideways. He was able to recover from that sideways moment, and Fons Skeltermar was on a real charge here as he overtakes Sven Schirmer, and this was for great track position and put Fons Skeltermar into P2. Would he be able to try and chase down the race leader Jan Sandman? Whilst all this was going on, Lucas Azato, what a great job he's doing. He's P1 for the Shell Am drivers. For Jan Sandman, not a foot stepped wrong. Brilliant job done. Heading towards the checkered flag, it would be Jan Sandman to win race one of the 2026 season for Shell, and for Lucas Azato, he would win the Shell Am race. Brilliant driving from all of the drivers. Congratulations all round. Super stuff from Shell and Shell Am. Heading up to the podium next then. Here's Michele Mambelli.
Third on the podium, Sven Schirmer. Second driver on the podium, Fons Skeltermar, the Shark. And the winner is Jan Sandman. Near the podium, Castle Racing team. National anthem. Now our claps for the winners. The trophy are presented by Alessio Rovera, Ferrari Factory.
So I promised you Alessio Rovera then, who spent a lot of time on air with us. He's in charge of podium presentation duties, and right now makes the trophy presentation to Sven Schirmer, P3.
The trophy for the second driver.
And there the second place trophy being presented to Fons Skeltermar. Well done, Fons. Back to podium ways again for Fons Skeltermar. And the race winner's trophy is reserved for Mr. J. Sandman on the top step of the podium.
And the trophy for the team
and of course, Castellet will be in receipt of the team's trophy.
And now, please, all drivers and teammates on the podium with Alessio too for photos. And drivers lift your trophy. Okay. Okay, lift your trophy. Photos and pictures from Le Castellet, Circuit Paul Ricard, and okay, for your pictures. Okay, Alessio and team manager leave the podium, and now. Champagne!
It was Skeltermar that won the champagne race, in my opinion. Great celebrations from all the drivers. And here the top three cars then, Penske Sportwagen Hamburg and Sven Schirmer. He takes P3. Castellet Racing, the shark's teeth have bitten von Skelzemar. And also for Castellet Racing. Top step of the podium in race 1 for Jan Sandman. We're standing by. We look at the Drivers' Championship for the first time of asking. Copichel, Jan Sandman leading the way with 16 points. P2 is von Skelzemar, P3 Sven Schirmer. Then it's Eric Chung on his return to racing, who's P4 ahead of Lisa Clark, Alexander Lima, and Ken Sato and Leon Rindbeek. They are the top 8 in our Copichel Drivers' Championship. Bear in mind, we still have a Shell Am podium to come, and of course, Shell Am Championship to look at also. Just assembling the drivers, I can see, and there you can see Andreas
Second driver
Koenig
on the podium, Boris Gideon.
making his way to P3. Here comes Boris Gideon for
And the
P2.
winner is Lucas Azzato.
And Lucas Azzato on the top step of the
Castellet
podium.
Racing near the podium, Castellet Racing. And now national anthem.
È un po' scavato! Sto solo pensando al superset di petto.
And now our claps for the winners and trophy are presented by Alessio Rovera, Ferrari factory driver, the trophy for third driver on the podium, Andreas Koenig.
So Andreas Koenig receives his trophy from Alessio Rovera, who was with us just a few moments ago on the air.
Boris Gideon, second.
Boris Gideon receives P2
under
trophy,
the checkered
richly
flag,
deserved.
And the winner trophy, Lucas Azzato, the winner.
Well done, Lucas
Alessio
Azzato.
Rovera.
Receives his trophy.
And the trophy for the
And of
team,
course the team,
winner
Castellet,
team, Castellet
will also be
Racing.
receiving a trophy.
Okay, please, driver. All driver on the first step of the podium, Alessio and team manager. Okay, lift your trophy, up your trophy.
Not everyone takes every bit of notice of what Michele is inviting them to do with regards to lifting their trophies. But
And now the
who will celebrate and who will be first? I think it was
battle.
Boris Gideon, honestly, with the champagne. The cars that did it for them then. Emil Frey racing Andreas Koenig, P3. P2 for Rilla and Schnauk, and Boris Gideon. And the 138 car of Castellet Racing and Lucas Azzato, which was victorious. Championship points then in the Copichel Am Drivers' Championship. Lucas Azzato leading on 17 points ahead of Boris Gideon. Then Andreas Koenig, Henrik Kamstrup, Shintaro Akatsu, Jean Ryu, Charles Chan and Masaru Yoneda. They are the top 8 in the Copichel Am Drivers' Championship after the first race of 2026. Ahead of Stephen Early, Van David Mari and Alwan Mayer. Fritz Muller, Alvaro Ramos, Pino Frascaro and Paolo Scudieri. That's the way the Drivers' Championship looks, and the first race of the Ferrari Challenge Copichel and Copichel Am is done and dusted. On behalf of all of us here, hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and make sure you join us tomorrow for another Copichel and Shell Am race, but of course more racing to come from the Ferrari Challenge here in the Paul Ricard circuit. before the end of the day today. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Hello everyone, welcome to 2026. The year can officially start now because Ferrari Challenge Racing is about to get underway here in Europe, and we have race 1 coming to you live from the Paul Ricard circuit here in La Castellet. Our Trophio, Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers lining up on the grid for their first race of the season. Cannot wait for this. Thankfully, the weather conditions now are dry. They most certainly were not when it came to qualifying. This is where we are then, the Circuit Paul Ricard. And this is our calendar for 2026. What a great calendar it is. So from here we go to Mugello, then it's Spielberg in Austria, then 2 support races to the 24-hour race at Le Mans. Then we're in Portugal, in Portimao, Budapest, what a beautiful city. And then round 7 is in Barcelona, and not only, it will be the site of the finale mondiale as well. So an awesome calendar. Just when you think it can't get any better, well, the people at Ferrari pull it out of the bag with something great. 17 degrees, the track temperature, air temperature, not quite as high as that. There's a bit of wind around, as you can see the flags fluttering, and there you can see the grid assembling before our very eyes. 30 minutes plus 1 lap from our Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli drivers then to get underway. Michael Verhagen then is a returning driver. We have returning drivers and new drivers, and lots of stories to tell now. Michael Verhagen put it P1 for the Pirelli Am drivers. It's also a front row start because the cars, wherever they qualify, that's where they start, irrespective of category. And the category is delineated by the windshield colours at the top of the windscreen. White means a Am driver, red means a Pirelli driver, and this is Herbert Guys, who goes from P4 in class, but it's down there P6 on the grid. Herbert then, great driver, great character as well. Now, thankfully, all drivers starting the race on slick tyres. The wet weather tyres not going to be needed as we take a look at the number 75 car of Giacomo Rinaldo. What a great qualifying session he had, finishing P2 in the Pirelli Am class. Final stages of preparation for Giacomo down there, who is being engineered by Rosso Corsa. And as I mentioned, it's 30 minutes plus 1 lap, the race duration for our Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli drivers. And inside these wonderful 296 Challenge cars, final words of advice being passed on to Michael Verhagen, who drives representing Ferrari Warsaw. What a great season he had last year. A really, really good season. He chased all the way to the title, wasn't able to take it, but did take a lot of success along the way. Now, Gilles Renmans, if ever there was a driver to keep your eye on this year, I would say it's him, the Francorchamps Motors Brussels driver. Gilles is a, well, truly remarkable young man, full of character and joie de vivre, if you will, and why wouldn't you be if you're racing in the Ferrari Challenge and racing one of these wonderful 296 Challenge cars. Yeah, he's going to be one to watch this year for sure. 2026 for Ferrari Challenge. Sergio Paulet, he's going from P1 on the grid, the returning Sergio Paulet, and really pleased that he's back in the Ferrari Challenge for our 2026 season. His distinctive colours of yellow and silver.
Last season was a very long season, and it was 8 races. It was lasting almost all the way to the very end until I won. So I love it, and we celebrate a lot. Had a lot of good time with the family and friends.
Sven Schirmer is the Copa Shell Am champion.
But now I love to be back. It's a new season. Competitive situation. It's going to be a long season, competition-wise, also very hard and very tough. early is to say something about the whole season, but we try. Coming back as a champion gives you a lot of pressure. We want to try to repeat the victory. It's going to be hard. There's a lot of competition this year for sure. Let's see. I'm going to try my very best.
Great to hear from one of our drivers, a Copa Shell driver now, not in this category. Happy birthday, Max Mugelli. So it was great to hear from Sven Schirmer. He won the Shell Am Championship and has become moved up into the Shell category. So he's not in this race, but he was racing just a few moments ago and did a great job, was on the podium. But happy birthday, Max Mugelli, one of our Trophio Pirelli drivers. And there you can see the Richard Mille safety car ready to lead the cars away. And we're going to hear from one of our Trophio Pirelli drivers, and that's going to be Gilles Renmans for Francorchamps Motors Brussels.
Hello everyone, my name is Gilles Renmans. We're here in Paul Ricard for the first round of the Ferrari Challenge 2026. Come with me to discover more about this beautiful track.
Yeah, I saw it, but we don't care.
Okay, so we arrive on the start-finish straight at the beautiful track of Paul Ricard, going into turn 1. It's a pretty long straight with a pretty hard braking point at the end. We brake around 120, we brake hard. Of course, with the trail brake, sacrifice the first corner, make sure to release the brake on time to not get a snap and go full throttle through turn 2, use all the space on the left. Here again, we use all the space on the left in order to carry a lot of speed into the entry of this corner. We keep the brake into the left one, make sure not to touch the curve too much, otherwise you destabilize the rear of the car. Here as well, use all the space you can on the left in order to prepare the long rides. And this one is a very important corner. Make sure to not cut too much on the inside or your car will get thrown out of the track limits. Use all the space on the right, and now we have a long straight ahead before going into the back straight chicane. So we are arriving very fast here. We brake around 150, very hard braking. Turn the car and use the curves not too much, otherwise you get a snap. Let's use all the space on the right and go on throttle again. Again, a very long straight here, going into the fastest corner of the track. Here we really have to make sure we are easy on the brakes to make sure the rear stays safe and go back on throttle. Use all the space on the left we can, carry as much as speed. A very long right corner, make sure to use all the space on the left. Try to visualize the apex, look as far ahead as we can, and we go on throttle again. Try to not hit the curves on the outside because you will make the car unstable. Here it's very important to get the apex and go as soon as on throttle as you can. Use all the space again on the curbs. Here it's important to brake with the car straight, otherwise you get a big snap and you mess up this final sector. Use all the space on the left again. Here we brake, not too late, and we go on power as soon as we can in order to get a good exit of the last corner. So this was a lap around the beautiful circuit of Paul Ricard with me.
Very good.
Thank you, Gilles. High speed look at this wonderful Circuit Paul Ricard. 5.842 kilometers, 15 turns, 6 left. 9 of them are right. Now, the circuit was built back in 1969. The first race was held in 1970, and we're situated around about 50 kilometers or so from Marseille. Not too much elevation change, but it is a circuit designed to provide excitement. The cars are released bang on time, ready for the first Trophio Pirelli and Pirelli Am race. We'll go through the grid in full, of course, for you, as the Richard Mille safety car leads the cars away then. And from back to front, Danilo Del Favro, he's alongside Otto Blank on the 6th row of the grid. It's Karl Runefelt and Anders Bidstrup. Welcome back, Anders, P10 and P9. Jacob Bidstrup and Max Mugelli go from P8 and P7. It's Herbert Guys and Gilles Renmans, then P6 and P5. They're on the third row of the grid. On the second row, it's Nobuhiro Imada and Giacomo Rinaldo. And then it's Michael Verhagen and Sergio Paulet going from the first row of the grid. Let's hear from our pole man.
Fine of the Trofeo Pirelli Pro, first season being in top class of the Ferrari Challenge. Very happy to get this pole position. I was feeling a bit uncomfortable with the car at the beginning because it's my first time trying 296 in rain conditions. But afterwards, I was improving a little bit. I had one mistake at the very beginning, then keep improving. I felt a little bit more comfortable with the car, and then the results come. So thanks to the team, of course, and very happy for this pole position. For the race, well, let's see, because I've been doing all the practices Thursday, Friday. I've been a little bit slower than my competitor, P2 in all the practices. So let's see in the race, he's 2 positions behind me. So I expect if it's in dry conditions, we'll see what happens, because I feel he's a little bit faster than me. But of course, race is a race, and we have to keep focused and try to stay in P1.
Thank you so much, Sergio Paulet. Welcome back to the Ferrari Challenge. He's driving for Nico Ripato Corsa Ram, who know how to engineer race-winning cars. Will he be a race winner today? Well, he's certainly put himself in the best possible position to do so. Mix of Pirelli cars and Pirelli Am cars. The Pirelli drivers, they're coloured red across the top of the windscreen and also in graphics that you will see. Pirelli Am drivers coloured white at the top of the windscreen and in the graphics that you will see, so you can distinguish who is racing in which category. Delighted to welcome alongside me Nico Spalak, part of the broadcast team once again this year. My goodness me, have I been looking forward to this season to get underway, and we're here and ready to go.
Absolutely. It was, as Sergio said, very, very wet in the morning. Much different conditions this afternoon, which should make for a great race across our Pirelli and Pirelli M drivers. The Castellet never fails to disappoint, and we are really looking forward to this.
You bet. So the cars side by side then lined up behind the Richard Mills safety car, which will make a late dash for the pit lane, and it will be the responsibility of Michael Verhagen and Sergio Paulet then to control the pace of the rolling start. Lighting gantry to the top of the screen for you. Who is going to be P1 going into turn 1? We are about to find out. Let's go racing. Good start by Sergio Paulet. Brilliant start from Nobuhiro Imada. I wonder if that was too brilliant a start, honestly. So Michael Verhagen and Sergio Paulet side by side. Michael Verhagen having to take evasive action there. Gilles Renmans, of course, will be the driver most anxious to get up the road a bit. And Nobuhiro Imada and Michael Verhagen having an argument for P1 in Pirelli Am. And Nobuhiro Imada is through to P1.
Indeed. Ronaldo in the meantime dropping out of the Gilles Renmans really taking inside through that turn, moving some of the circuit infrastructure in the process. On lap 1 you can probably get away with it, not later in the race, but Sergio Paulet converted his pole position and is stretching his legs now.
Great start from Gilles Renmans, then up to P2 in class, P3 overall. You can see the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. And Jacob Bidstrup getting past Max Mugelli, as well as they're into the chicane and the Mistral straight for the first time of asking. Now Sergio Paulet trying to stretch his legs out front ahead of Nobuhiro Imada, who would follow right now. Carries so much speed here, and there's been some contact, and you can see in replay, here it is.
Yeah, Jacob Bidstrup, that is, and there is the incident, and there you can see it wasn't only him.
It was also the car of Giacomo Rinaldo.
Yeah, Giacomo Rinaldo had a terrible start, was dropping back, and we will see a replay of that for sure. But he lost quite a few positions already at the start and then was involved in that melee. Not the start that he wanted to have. to the race or the season. There is Gilles Renman. He is flashing his lights at Noble Hero Imada. Now Imada is in a different class. He's the leader of the AM. He would like to have Gilles Renman as a cushion, but equally he doesn't want to fight too hard with a Pirelli driver.
Has to be said, Nobuhiro Imada has got so much racing experience relative to Gilles Renman's. Nobuhiro Imada knows exactly where to place that car. However, look at the speed Gilles Renman's has got. Gets the benefit of a draft off the back of the Nobuhiro Imada car into the chicane. He takes it. Now, of course, from Nobuhiro's point of view, that was very, very clever driving from him, because it was pointless trying to fight with Gilles Renman's. They're in a different category, and there'd be no point. Yes, it's great to have the cushion, but he didn't want to get involved in a fractious fight with a driver that actually it was not going to benefit him one iota to be ahead of him, other than to give him that cushion between himself and Michael Verhagen, who of course is the next of the AM drivers.
Indeed, Gilles Renman now released sets a fastest first lap sector of anybody, so he's now trying to put on those chains to Sergio Paul, and then behind those two we have 4 M drivers, Imada, Verhagen, Geis and Danilo Del Favaro. And you can see that crocodile here coming into the chicane on the back, the Mistral straight.
Sergio Paula had said in his pole sitters interview that he knew just how quick Gilles Renman's is, and we're going to see what's going to happen to that gap between P1 and P2 over the evolution of the next few laps, I guess. 26.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. Now, this is how Gilles really put it onto Nobuhiro Imada. To be fair, there was no heavy defending there. It would have been futile and pointless, and therefore that's very, very sensible driving, I would suggest, from Imada.
Yeah, 100%. Now his focus is on keeping the gap towards the drivers behind him and making sure that he stays in P1 in the Ms, but with 26 minutes plus a lap, there is a lot of racing and a lot of activity between now and the end of the race. First track limit warning goes to this driver, Herbert Geis. As you said before, you can get away with 3. The 4th one is the one that hurts the first time, because that will bring a 5-second penalty. But the first lap is, or the second lap is in the books, and Sergio Paulet marginally quicker this time around compared to Gilles Renman. 2.9 seconds is the gap.
We'll see how that gap develops and devolves, and Nobuhiro Imada now having to do quite some defending from Michael Verhagen, who has picked up his pace. Now, it may well be, Nico, that you're running all sorts of different, drivers are running all sorts of different tyre pressures here, because it's relatively cold. Tyre pressures always increase when you start racing. Maybe Michael Verhagen's car is into its window now. And maybe suffering for that will be Nobuhiro Imada. We will see. Herbert Geis running P3. He has got a track limits warning. It's only a warning at this point. He can afford 3 of those before there is a penalty. And you don't want to be getting one of those. Michael Verhagen setting the fastest lap then for the drivers as car number 75 picks up a drive-through penalty for causing a collision. That indeed is the car of Giacomo Ronaldo. So he gets a drive-through penalty, and that's going to take him out of the P5 position that he is in. And he's right in the thick of it with, there's Herbert Geis and Danilo Del Favaro.
Yeah, and it was Michael Verhagen who made a little bit of a mistake into the chicane, and that dropped him back into the clutches of the drivers behind him, and he did well to keep his position, but now obviously where he was just chasing Imada, he is now in a much different position and has to first make sure that he doesn't surrender that P2 place in class.
Well, we've got the rearward-facing camera on the Michael Verhagen car looking at the front of the Herbert Geis car. So this is Michael Verhagen, who we are on board with right now for Ferrari Warsaw, looking back at the car of Herbert Geis. And then it is Danilo Del Favaro there, centre picture right now, driving the number 9 car before the birthday driver, Max Mugelli, Trophio Pirelli driver, driving the number 3 car in the Ferrari Challenge. Great to see Max Mugelli back again for another fantastic season of racing, Nico.
Indeed, and now Max Mugelli, obviously, he is also not on the same class as the 3 drivers, and he wants to get by, but those 3 are really in their own battle, so they almost don't have the time and the mental capacity to just allow a Pirelli driver and to just go by. But here's a look at the start once again.
Interesting. As we take a look at that start, Nico, as to who was doing what and where.
Yeah, and Rinaldo really dropped down. He was on the front 2 rows, and he immediately lost 4 or 5 positions almost before they got into the first turn.
See it from being on board now, and
that's Michael Verhagen,
yeah,
who we saw through the chicane, sorry, as he just braked a little bit too late, and therefore lost quite a little bit of time.
So Nobuhiro Imada now fastest lap for the AM drivers. Gilles Remans remains with the fastest lap for the Pirelli drivers, but the gap between P1 and P2, Nico's 2.695 seconds. Now, there's still a lot of time to come. We've got 22.5 minutes plus 1 lap, but Sergio Paula seems to be controlling this pretty well.
Yeah, indeed, Gilles Remans just made up a little bit of time, sector by sector, but we're talking a tenth maybe, not much more. So yeah, Sergio Paula can really focus and just making sure that he nails the apexes, is not under any pressure, doesn't put too much strain on the car, on the tires, and that will certainly benefit him down the road. And as is often so many times the case in motorsport, safety car or something like that, and all of a sudden that gap dissipates, and that's when, if you're the leader, the best thing you can do is have everything fresh in your car and be able to respond to any challenge that's laid against you.
You are so right. So there we can see Nobuhiro Imada, who is leading in the AM drivers ahead of Michael Verhagen's that car there, and Herbert Guy's that car there. Danilo Del Favaro at the moment not in a podium place. However, don't rule anything out or in, because still got 21.5 minutes plus 1 lap of this Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli and Pirelli AM race to run. Sergio Paula then with a margin of 3 seconds ahead of Gilles Remans, who is running P2. Top 2 in the AMs, Nobuhiro Imada and Michael Verhagen. And here we can see the Bidstrup car being chased down. And great to see this little 3-way fight going on between Rundfeldt and Anders Bidstrup and Otto Blank. Otto Blank with very distinctive end plate colours this year, that's for sure. You're not going to mistake that car, and wing the door mirror caps as well, a very distinctive colour. So here comes Anders Bidstrup then, using the slipstream initially, and that puts him right alongside, and well, into the chicane, a textbook overtake and executed absolutely perfectly, going past the Rundfeldt car. So Carl Rundfeldt losing out there on a place, and now of course Otto Blank will seize perhaps an opportunity for him to take advantage as well. You can see the Jacob Bidstrup car still running behind in P12 with that slight damage to the right-hand side of the car. Otto Blank running a bit wide there, and well, so too was the car of Rundfeldt. But it has meant that Bidstrup's efforts have been called out, and now Michael Verhagen is back on the rear wing of the car of Nobuhiro Imada. So Michael Verhagen back now in a real fight for the lead in Trophio Pirelli AM. Is he going to dive to the inside here? Is he going to be king of the late breakers? Don't think he's quite close enough to be able to make it work. No, he wasn't, but absolutely he means business. He was, as you can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen, some 9/10 quicker last time around than Nobuhiro Imada. So Michael Verhagen means business, and he's trying to find a way past the Formula Racing number 44 296 Challenge car, which is the right ahead. We're riding on board with Michael Verhagen currently. Now this track is made up of 3 sectors, like all tracks of course, but 2 sectors are very similar and what I would call and consider power sectors, and that's sectors 1 and sector 2. Sector 3 is the real technical sector, and Nobuhiro Imada very cleverly placing the car exactly where Michael Verhagen wants it not to be placed. And that means Verhagen was not able to put a move on going through the chicane in the Mistral Straight, and has allowed Herbert Guys to get closer Now, Sergio Paul has got a track limits warning. Just thought I'd mention that for the sake of accuracy. And only one warning. The only driver with 2 warnings is Herbert Guys, as we go back on board right now with Michael Verhagen trying to find his way past Nobuhiro Imada for the lead in the Trophio Pirelli AM race. Glad that we're staying with this battle. It's one of the closest out there on track, and it is in this Pirelli AM race. There's the data, the telemetry. You can see what gear Michael Verhagen is using, what speed he is pulling, when he's braking, when he's accelerating. We can bring you all this information and split the screen and actually show you inside the garages as well. Absolutely awesome. And again, he's going to try a different line now. Nobuhiro Imada tries to block it. And right now, Michael Verhagen not able again to dive to the inside. And I really rather think that the huge experience that Nobuhiro Imada has as a racing driver just means that even though probably, well, actually, definitely, Michael Verhagen being quicker, he is not able to find a way past Nobuhiro Imada because Nobuhiro knows exactly where to place the car and to cause him real problems in trying to find a way to overtake. Danilo Del Favaro getting ever closer to Herbert Guys. He was having a go on the last but one turn. Again, on this long straight here, Nico, where you carry so much speed. And Nobuhiro, and you know, I've said this more than once, with the experience he has, he knows how to defend.
Yeah, and I mean, this straight with that chicane in the middle, it really gives you an opportunity to maximize the slipstream. And if you can really be exactly behind the other drivers through the chicane,
yeah,
then you actually have an opportunity on this spot, because there is more than one line through this sequence of final turns, especially entering it. But Nobuhiro Imada really doesn't allow Michael Verhagen that much into his slipstream and doesn't leave himself vulnerable. Now, you've said before, tire pressure strategies can be very different. The setup is similar. You have these high-speed parts of the circuit, and you have this twisty part which the drivers are currently in. And you can set the car up a little bit more for the top speed, as well as more for the downforce during the tighter turns. So that can also make a difference, and it does make a difference on tire degradation.
Yes, you make perfect sense. So Sergio Paul at 2.2 seconds to the good over Gilles Renmans. Then it's this Nobuhiro Imada, Michael Verhagen, Herbert Guys, Danilo Del Favaro four-way fight that's going on that we like. We ride on board with Michael Verhagen again. He's tried it so many times here, and Nobuhiro Imada is just very, very clever at where he places the car. Incidentally, Danilo Del Favaro, as you look at the racing chart on the left-hand side, has moved up some 5 places. Now Verhagen tries to put the car right alongside Nobuhiro Imada, but he wasn't able to do so as our drone catches these cars in action then. And Michael Verhagen, whilst he's trying to attack Nobuhiro Imada, he's got to be ever mindful that he's got Herbert Guys up his trumpet as well. So he doesn't want to be too bold and ambitious in terms of an overtake and actually lose a place in so doing, Nico. Is he going to have him now? Well, he's as close as he can be. Nobuhiro Imada, though, on the inside line. It's whether Verhagen is ahead enough, and he wasn't. So Nobuhiro Imada, I mean, it's brilliant defensive driving, to be fair. Clean, tidy, but now on the exit of this turn, getting the reinforcement of everything that Nico said in terms of the slipstream out. They can go side by side, and again, Nobuhiro Imada just lets the car drift to the middle of the track to deny Michael Verhagen.
Amazing. You know, overtakes are very, very exciting, but sometimes such great defensive driving is equally amazing, and Michael Verhagen will have a different opinion of that.
Of course.
Well, actually, I think he will appreciate it, but he is being denied for the time being. But knowing Michael Verhagen, he will just take that as extra incentive to try it all over again.
And he is trying and trying and trying. Now, in the meantime, Herbert Guys has fallen prey to Danilo Del Favaro, who has moved up a place. So all of a sudden, where Michael Verhagen may feel that he was confident in that Herbert Guys was not going to be able to take him, he's now going to have a different opponent behind him in Danilo Del Favero. So, is Michael Verhagen going to do it this time around? He's tried every which way but loose to have Nobuhiro Imada going into turn number 1, and he's not been able to do it, and he's not been able to do it again. So with just under 13 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining, he's taking a lot out of his tyres here, Nico, because he's driving very, very aggressively. We know what a brilliant driver Michael Verhagen is. Let's be honest, he chased Hendrik Viol in the championship last year, and he had a fair amount of success. But I just think Nobuhiro Imada's ability to defend in a perfectly fair manner means that Verhagen is just pushing and pushing and pushing with futility at the moment.
Yeah, commentators curse incoming potentially. Michael Verhagen giving it another go. Around the outside is a very, very difficult one. He tries the switchback and he does it, but again, Imada just knows where the car has to be placed to have the better line coming out. Now on the other side.
Now he's done it, I think. Now I think he has done it. He's got to the inside line, Nico. And Nobuhiro Imada, after lap of defending, finally loses out to Michael Verhagen. And here comes Danilo Del Favero, who has gone through as well. Once that hole had been opened up by Michael Verhagen, Danilo Del Favero rubbed his hands with invisible soap and said, "Thanks very much, I'm having some of that as well."
Absolutely, Danilo Del Favero. Shout out to him. He's shown his talent every now and then, but he is really, really mixing it up for not only a podium position, but he's in a position to challenge for the win, and that is really something. Now, Imada, as you said, a little bit out of the rhythm maybe. He has lost a little bit of that, and he has to regain that. Herbert guys behind him, already 2 track limit warnings. He has to have his own attention everywhere. And you can see Michael Verhagen now released, stretching his legs. Meanwhile, Sergio Paulet, the gap to Gilles Renman, just under 2 seconds.
That hasn't changed very much, has it?
But slightly.
In replay, this was brilliant driving from both. I mean, and I have to say, fair play to both of them, Nico, because there was healthy respect between them both. It could have gone so horribly wrong, but it didn't. And this was Danilo Del Favero. It was a bold and ambitious move, and again, racing room was left by Nobuhiro Imada to allow Danilo Favero to take that bolder and more ambitious move against him.
Yeah, no question about that. Imada, I think, was somewhat focused on how to get back Michael Verhagen and that position, but in so doing, found himself vulnerable. Now, here is the gap in vision between P1 and P2. We're 1.715 seconds.
It's coming down a little bit, isn't it?
Managing the gap is one thing.
Yeah.
Being in striking distance, potentially another.
Right, we're into the final 10 minutes plus 1 lap. I have to say, this is turning into being a very, very compelling race in both Pirelli and Pirelli Am that we've been enjoying. We ride on board with Gilles Renmans right now. He really is on the edge. You can see how he fights with that steering wheel. He gives it everything he possibly can. Just on the edge of control. Let's run his telemetry. 3rd gear right now. Down to 100 kilometers per hour, then back up to 120 or so before braking again and down into 2nd gear, back into 3rd gear. Full chat flat on the throttle, building as much speed as possible. 220, 240, 250. I can't keep up with the speedometer, to be honest. We touched 260 kilometers per hour before braking for this left-hander. Amazing stuff. Sergio Paulet and Gilles Renmans and Nobuhiro Imada defending from Herbert Guys. Let's go into the garages and see what it's like from a garage eye perspective with the Gilles Renmans team. But Nobuhiro Imada is in a podium place at the moment, but Herbert Guys, who in turn is trying to get by, has got Max Mugelli behind him, but Max Mugelli, of course, is in a different class, Nico.
Yeah, and he's kind of stuck behind this battle that was raging for a long, long time in front of him, 4 wide. Now it's only 2 wide, and the sequence of cars in front of him has been ever-changing, in front of Max Mugelli, I mean, but he hasn't really gotten past. Now, it doesn't do much for him in terms of position in class, because Gilles Renman and Sergio Paolo are significantly up the order. But as a racing driver, on his birthday, yeah, he would like to get pie, but hasn't been able to do so.
1.3 seconds now, the gap between P1 and P2. Just thought I'd mention that while we're watching this fight that is going on for P3, the final podium place. And here comes Herbert Guys, all the way down the outside, but he carried too much speed. And he's going to have to give that place back, Nico, because he gained a significant advantage by shortcutting that chicane. And Herbert will do that, of course he will, because he knows that there's no way that's going to be allowed to stick, and he did give the place back straight away. Here is Sergio Paolo, who has increased now by a couple of tenths because he knows that Gilles Renmans is within striking distance. Sergio Paolo can afford 0 mistakes now and 0 loss of time, because Renmans is going to use every second of the 7.25 seconds plus 1 lap remaining to get closer to him, Nico, and it's down to 1.255 now.
Yeah, this is building towards a crescendo towards the end of this race. 7 minutes. Sergio Paolo doesn't want the crescendo. He wants to take the win and not having to sweat it out. Gilles Renman, different ideas, and we go back to that pre-race interview which Sergio Paolo said, you know, maybe he's a little bit quicker, but you've said it 1,000 times and more. Being quicker is one thing.
Finding a way by ain't so easy.
But it's under a second now, and you can see it, you can tell it.
Yeah, and Sergio will be even more aware of it than you or I. So Gilles Renmans then going for the first win. He's flashing his lights now to reinforce his superiority in terms of pace and speed against Sergio Paolo. Michael Verhagen, Danilo Del Favaro, P1, P2. Nobuhiro Imada still holding on to that P3 place in the AM drivers. Some awesome driving we've seen in this Pirelli and Pirelli AM race from the Ferrari Challenge, their first race of the 2026 season. We ride on board with Gilles Renmans chasing down that car of Sergio Paolo. Back on the gas as early as possible, always avoiding the little snap of oversteer where possible. The gap around about 1.1 seconds now between P1 and P2. Sergio Paolo doing everything he can to regain as much time as possible, but you can just see that Gilles Renmans is prepared to brake a bit later and be a bit more aggressive in terms of attacking the apex of the turns, and that's where he's gaining some time as well as gaining speed as well. 1 second the margin between P1 and P2. We've got 5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. 5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. Michael Verhagen then, he's got 1.4 seconds over Danilo Del Favaro, so he seems reasonably comfortable, and Nobuhiro Imada less comfortable, I would say, with only 0.3 of a second between himself and Herbert Guys for the final podium place in the Trophio Pirelli AM drivers.
Yes, indeed, but here we go to that battle, and there is Nobuhiro Imada, there is Herbert Guys, Max Mugello still keeping them company. And Nobuhiro Imada, he has shown some great defending. There was a lapse of a lap or so where he had to let Verhagen and Del Favaro go, but after that he has been steadfast once again, and he is now trying to hold on to that podium position. We're 4 minutes 10 seconds away plus 1 lap from the checkered flag. Now Sergio Paolo and Gilles Renman, when they cross the timing line, that will determine when that plus 1 lap starts. So we're not quite sure how many laps we will have remaining. Gilles Renman incidentally just picked up his first track limits warning. That shouldn't bother him too much towards the end of this race, at least so we think. He is still focused very, very much on Sergio Paolo in front of him, and yeah, having him in his target sights is certainly gonna help him. And there you can see slightly different lines through that twisty final sector. Just listening to the sound of the 296 Challenge cars. deceleration, acceleration, total focus, and this is as close as it has been. I wonder how many tenths it's going to be across the line. Sergio Paulet, 3 minutes. So that means 2 more laps plus 1 more, 3 more laps to go in this race.
He took another 10th out of him, Nico. He took another 10th. But we're running out of time here. We're really running out of time. Just under 3 minutes plus 1 lap. Apex is being taken. Curbs are rattling the fillings in your teeth as Gilles Remans from Francorchamps Motors Brussels does everything he possibly can to try and get on terms with Sergio Paulet, and it is as close as he's been. So Sergio Paulet now bouncing across the curbs. Can ill afford to upset the balance of the car, the rhythm of the car, because Gilles Remans is ready to pounce. And where can Gilles really hoist the pressure on the car and drive a combo of Sergio Paulet for Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram? The competition between the two teams is as intense as the competition between the two drivers. Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram versus Francorchamps Motors Brussels. Sergio Paulet is able to wrestle a 10th back once again, and it has been a real seesaw between these two drivers. Absolutely brilliant to watch. 1 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap remaining between these two, Nico.
Yeah, and there is again the other battle that we were now. I think Herbert Geis is on the inside towards the chicane. If he can scrub off the speed and not let Imada alongside, and he does exactly that. And again, Imada potentially on the verge of losing 2 in a row, but I think Max Mugelli having shortcut there. I don't think that he's allowed to keep that position. Again, it's not a battle in class, but nonetheless, Claudio Garavini will take a look at that and say, actually, you shouldn't have overtaken off the track. At least I assume that.
I think you're right to assume that, and just to throw a little oil into the baking mix, if I may, Nico. Sergio Paulet has got 2 track limit warnings. I know we're towards the end of the race. He can ill afford another couple. Gilles Remans, in his quest to try and get by. Gilles, to be fair, has got 1 track limit warning. Anders Bidstrup has got 4. He is at the top of the table for track limits warnings, but Gilles Remans then just 8 tenths between P1 and P2. The telemetry being run on the Gilles Remans car as well. Can't help but feel Sergio Paulet is placing the car pretty well, Nico, to deny Gilles the opportunity. Well, of course he's going to deny it. He's going to defend for all his worth, but I just can't see really where Gilles is going to be able to do it here.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen drivers being very conscious about how many track limits they can still afford over the last lap or two, and actually half intentional, half not intentional, but carelessly taking a little bit more of an advantage, knowing that they can still afford that.
Yes.
Sergio Paulet has been adjudged to have taken liberty of that, and he is now on
my goodness,
precipice almost, and he doesn't want to fall over that.
Now, you're right. It's now 3 track limits warnings for Sergio Paulet. He can ill afford another one. Sergio Paulet, Gilles Remans in replay then. This is Max Mugelli giving the place back to Nobuhiro Imada, which was exactly the right thing to do. He had to do that because we saw it live, and there was no question that he did gain an advantage. And that's why he's given that place back. So now, by my reckoning, we are going to start the final lap. It's now or never for Gilles Remans to find a way past Sergio Paulet. Sergio can have no more track limits. Gilles Remans was 4 1/1000ths quicker than Sergio Paulet across the line. And yeah, we want this to be a race that's won fair and square on the track rather than in terms of penalties, Nico, for track limits. So Of course, Gilles Remans will feel completely differently about that, and he'll try and push Sergio Paula into making an error and exceeding the track limit, because that would do the overtake for him. Dare I say that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, yes, we definitely always want the race to be won on the track. Equally, you know, there are rules, and you can't allow anybody to exceed the rules without being properly disciplined. So there is two sides of that. But yes, the preference is always whoever crosses the finish line first is gonna take the win. Car 3, no further action, so Max Mugelli is allowed to keep that position. But here's the focus on the final lap.
Yes, Max, having given that position back, he can keep the position he's got now, as you say, with no further action. Where now can Gilles do anything? I don't think he can, Nico. I think he's just run out of it.
Final few turns.
I mean, where can he do it? Well, there's me saying he ain't gonna have a chance. Never say that.
We've seen dives into the very, very last turn.
So we're riding on board with Gilles Remans then. And Sergio Paula, who's tried to make his 296 challenge car a metre wider than it really is. And now you can see Gilles Remans almost trying to get a slingshot out, and it's almost a drag race to the line between the two of them. Sergio Paula wins by the tiniest of margins, a 10th over Gilles Remans. But do you know what? My applause to both of them. Here comes Michael Verhagen, who is going to win the Pirelli Am race. And here he comes, accelerating out of the final turn. Well done to Michael Verhagen, and well done to Danilo Del Favero, who will take P2 in Pirelli Am. Great result for Danilo Del Favero. And Herbert Guys, subject to no further penalties, because he's had a couple, should take P3. Nico, that was a really compelling Trophio Pirelli race, in my opinion, across both Pirelli and Pirelli Am.
Yeah, 100%. And it didn't look like it for most of the part when it came to the very, very front of Pirelli. But Gilles Remans, credit to him, he just put his head down, he didn't do anything crazy, he just pushed and pushed, but as we saw at the end, he didn't over-push it, because he still had something to give and to take it to Sergio Paula once he'd closed the gap. And as you say, it was a drag race. If there had been one more lap, you know, you don't know how they would have come out of that first chicane, but Sergio Paula, putting all his experience...
and he has a bit, doesn't he? And I have to say, it was mature driving from, in my opinion, from Gilles Remans, because it's a long championship ahead, and well done to this man, Michael Verhagen, then the Trophio Pirelli Am winner. It always looks so cool as a cucumber, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yes, definitely, sir.
Looks like he's out for a Sunday afternoon drive. I'm sorry, Nico, that's really unfair, isn't it? But this is what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, he had 25 seconds of a gap towards the drivers in front of him, 6 seconds to the good to Danilo Del Favero, so he didn't have to sweat it all the way until the line, but it wasn't easy for him. He had to make it work, and he had to show the patience when he was stuck behind Nobuhiro Imada and was trying to find a way by, and he did that with aplomb and got the overtake, and then got the win in this first race, and getting his campaign with the win and the fastest lap off to a very, very good start.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything you say, as indeed I always have done. Which is why my career has flourished the way it has. Sergio Paula, P1, Gilles Remans, P2. I don't know why I said that. Michael Verhagen taking P3, but that's P2 in class. So let me do it all over again. It's P1 and P2 in Pirelli for Sergio Paula, Gilles Remans. P3 in Pirelli for Max Mugelli. The top three for the Am drivers: Michael Verhagen, Danilo Del Favero, Herbert Guys. Then it was Nobuhiro Imada, Anders Bidstrup, Carl Runefelt, Giacomo Ronaldo, Otto Blank, and Jacob Bidstrup did have to bring the car back into the pit lane. In the meantime, cars all parked up in the Sergio's done a bit of racing, to be fair, Nico, and is appropriately congratulated by the team.
Oh, that was so hard, man. Photo.
Well done to all the drivers. Gilles Renmans, I mean, he pushed and pushed and pushed. But he didn't push, as Nico said, he didn't push too much. Danilo Del Favero. His first podium of the campaign is the first race of the campaign, and being congratulated there by lots of people, including other drivers from other categories as well, like Sven Schirmer, you can see to the very right-hand side of your picture there, or you could. So, yeah, great stuff. So there is Michael Verhagen then, who, as I say, just seems such a cool dude, and he's not impacted or affected by it at all. And he did such a good job, fair play to Nobuhiro Amada, who really worked very, very hard. Here then, Sergio Paolet, then race-winning car. We're going to be hearing from Sergio, the Ineco Ripardo Corsa Ram driver, in just a few moments, and Ludovica will be down there to test his knowledge of how he managed to get it to P1 in the race, that's for sure. So let's hear from him now. Sergio Paolet, then victorious in race 1 of Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli.
Sergio, congratulations. As you say this morning to your team, you made a perfecto trabajo, a good work. So an incredible debut for you here, pole position and a victory. So I want to discover with you your feeling for this race.
Well, it was tough because, as I said, on dry conditions, everything can happen. Gilles was better than me, faster than me in the pre-practice. In the dry conditions, so I took the start. It was fine. I was calm. I was quite relaxed. But then I started feeling his breathing behind me. I was getting a little bit nervous because he was reaching me. But at the end, I just managed the pace. I managed how to drive without overdriving, without oversteering, and well, he put a lot of pressure on me on that last lap, but finally, well, I did it. I protected a little bit on the last two corners, and the win comes. So very, very happy, honestly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well done, Sergio. Very, very happy, as he says. Rightly so. I think Nico deserved that.
Absolutely, I said it like it was.
Right, we're going to hear from Michael Verhagen then, who has won the Pirelli Am race for Ferrari Warsaw, richly deserved. And yeah, great job done by Michael Verhagen, setting his stall out for what could be a championship season for him. Let's hear from him now. He's with Ludovica. Stand by, here comes Michael Verhagen then for Ferrari Warsaw.
Michael, congratulations. You come here as a champion, as we say yesterday, to remember your incredible result last year. But I want to concentrate to the race about today, from pole position to an important win. So I want to discover your feeling and how do you feel during all the race?
Yeah, the start was quite tough. I lost directly one position. Imada took the chance and he keep it very, very tight. So it was battle like mirror-to-mirror racing, and that's racing about. So giving no opportunities and find solution, wait for a chance. And I think we have good battles. I did, overheated my tires a little bit because of the battle. So I saw already the other one come also from the back. But yeah, at the end, I waited for one mistake and took the chance and bring it on one back. So I'm happy.
Thank you. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Well done to Michael Verhagen then. On the grid, ready to go racing. Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli underway for 2026. The drivers, the mix of Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers then ready to do battle for 30 minutes plus 1 lap. And you can see how tight it was. Sergio Paulet doing a good job right at the start of the race, putting the car in front, and he is taking that P1 position. And he would be chased all along. Nobuhiro Imada, what a start for Nobuhiro Imada. Him taking the place away from Michael Verhagen. And Gilles Remmers was also in the mix, and around went the number 40 car then. Strife there for Jacob Bidstrup, picking up damage as well. He would have to retire the car eventually. What a battle between Nobuhiro Imada and Michael Verhagen that would ensue for lap after lap after lap. It was completely compelling and really interesting. Brilliant driving between these two drivers into the chicane. Nobuhiro Imada losing out then to Herbert Guys. And Nobuhiro Imada doing such a good job in trying to defend, and here on board with Gilles Redmans as he's trying to find a way past Sergio Paulet. It's going to be a drag race all the way to the checkered flag. Who is going to take the win? It's going to be Sergio Paulet who does it ahead of Gilles Redmans, who takes P2. And it's going to be Michael Verhagen that wins in Pirelli Am ahead of Danilo Del Favero. Wow, what a brilliant Pirelli race, the opening race of the Pirelli season.
Already for the first podium.
Here comes Michele Mambelli then to bring the drivers out onto the podium.
Max Mugelli. Second, race 1, Gilles Redmans. And the winner is Sergio Paulet from Spain. Team manager in Eco Reparto Corse Ram. And now national anthem. Our claps for the winners, and the trophy are presented by Alessio Rovera, Ferrari factory driver. The trophy for the third driver on the podium, Max Mugelli. The trophy for the second driver, Gilles Redmans. And the winner trophy, Sergio Paulet from Spain. And the trophy for team manager for team Ineco Reparto Corse Ram. The trophy, Pirelli trophy, Francesco Garosci, Pirelli Motorsport Business Development Manager. For the winner, Sergio Paulet, Francesco Garosci. And now all the guests and the drivers on the podium. The drivers on the first lap of this podium. Francesco Garosci, please, on the podium, all, and drivers, lift your trophy for photo. Okay.
So drivers following the instructions and lifting trophies.
The guest can leave the podium. Wait, the drivers, 1 second, please.
Who is going to be quickest with the champagne?
2, 1, champagne!
Redmans, in my opinion. So the cars that delivered the podium places for those drivers then. P3 for Max Mugelli. P2 for Gilles Redmans. And P1 for Sergio Paulet. We'll take a look at the Drivers' Championship. Sergio Paulet then leading on 17 points ahead of Gilles Redmans, and then it is Max Mugelli P3 in the Trophio Pirelli Drivers' Championship, with, of course, Trophio Pirelli Am podium to come, drivers standing by for that. So the Paul Ricard circuit then has delivered the Pirelli and Pirelli Am first race. There's Herbert Guys making his way to the podium for P3. Danilo Del Favero for P2, and on the top step of the podium, Ferrari Warsaw driver Michael Verhagen.
Ferrari Varsavia sul podio, on the podium. National anthem. Our claps for the winners.
So well done to all the drivers standing by then for the trophies to be presented. Alessio Rovera, then Ferrari factory driver, making the trophy presentations. First trophy goes to Herbert Guys for P3. For P2, it's Danilo Del Favero, but the race winner's trophy being reserved for Michael Verhagen, who of course will Ferrari Warsaw will receive a trophy as well from Alessio Rovera. Mr. Francesco Garosci from Pirelli making the Pirelli trophy presentation to Michael Verhagen. Right, now it's the critical photographs to be taken. Now, listen carefully to Mr. Mambelli.
Lift your trophy for pictures and photo from Castellet Circuit.
Lift your trophy, please. Who's going to win the champagne race? My money is on Danilo Del Favero. Just saying. Right, let's see.
2, 1, champagne!
It was Danilo Del Favero. It's not often I get anything right, Nico, but on this occasion I did.
Absolutely, and I would contradict the fact that you don't get it right very often.
That's very kind of you. Your generous nature. P3, Herbert Guys. P2, Danilo Del Favero. For Penske Sport Wagen, Hamburg. And P1, of course, for Michael Verhagen, who did win the World Championship last year. And he is clearly going to mean business this season. Well done, Michael Verhagen. Championship points then. Michael Verhagen then leading the championship ahead of Danilo Del Favero and Herbert Guys. Then it's Nobuhiro Imada, Anders Bidstrup, Karl Runefelt, Otto Blank, and Giacomo Rinaldo. Then it's Michael Verhagen and Jacob Bidstrup. Another Trophio Pirelli and Pirelli Am race to come tomorrow. Make sure to join us for that, if you will, please. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye for now. Hello everyone and welcome to round one of the Ferrari Challenge UK, and we are live here in Paul Ricard, Le Castellet in the south of France for the first round of the Ferrari Challenge UK for 2026. So what a season we have in prospect. Really looking forward to the racing that is going to come this season. Of course, a mix of Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers, and here you can see the Paul Ricard circuit then, 5.8 kilometers long, and it really is a challenging circuit. And this is the calendar. So we're in Le Castellet. From here we go to Snetterton in Norfolk. Then it is Silverstone, Alton Park, Brands Hatch, where we will race in the Grand Prix circuit as well as the Indy circuit. And the final will be at Donington this year. That will be round 6 for our 2026 calendar for the Ferrari Challenge UK. Well, the weather conditions here in Paul Ricard are very un-south of France-like, with a track temperature of 16 degrees, an air temperature of just 9 degrees, and a bit of a wind blowing, I can tell you that much. So that's the way it looks. You can see as the flags are fluttering in the wind. So here we are then. I'm joined by Sinella alongside me, who is going to be working with me on the grid today. Great to have you with us. Come on, let's go and take a look at the grid. So, Sinella, welcome. Delighted to welcome you to the Ferrari Challenge UK. And we're going to go down on the grid. And that is a really privileged opportunity. And the first chance I think you will have had to meet some of our drivers actually in a grid position.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see all the cars on the grid.
Well, do you know what? This crew making us work really hard. I mean, they're working hard, to be fair, because the only open gate is the one, of course, typically right at the back of the pack. So we've got to walk quite hurriedly as well. But hey, who cares? It keeps us fit. We love it. The Ferrari Challenge UK underway for 2026. Now, the Ferrari Challenge UK has been absolutely brilliant. And the last couple of years, we've opted to open the season with a European round, which Sinella has added something of a flavour to the whole thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to meet all the drivers right now. Can you see all the colourful cars? Oh my God.
But what I love about it is, look how busy the grid is. And this is something that we get to experience that not a lot of people do. So I think it's a thrill for us, and it's certainly a thrill for me to be alongside you. Hussein Surt is one of our returning drivers. Good luck, Hussein. Hope you go well. And there is Mr. Turner alongside his first race event in the Ferrari Challenge UK. His driver coach talking to him. Good luck to you, John. I hope all goes well, my friend. Come on, let's get down here. Peter Hunter to the right-hand side in the pale blue car. I would advise you, Sinella. Peter is a big character and possibly one not for you to talk to, I would say. How rude of me to say that. Look at this, littered with celebrities and people down here on the grid. It's absolutely lovely, isn't it?
I'm so excited to see them all.
Here we can see Joseph Dean. He's ready to go racing. Now, the big fella here with the jacket on is Joseph's father, who he knows how to drive a car. Go and have a word with him for me.
Okay.
Go and have a word with Mr. Dean here. You're joking, he says.
Hello, how are you feeling about this today?
I'm feeling good. Joseph is feeling good too, so hopefully we can get to the first corner unscathed and get through the race to the end, and we'll just see where we end up.
Thank you very much.
Well done, Sinella. You got more out of him than I would have done. Thank you, Mr. Dean. We appreciate that very much. Come on, let's continue our way down here with this fantastic grid of cars. I am going to get so told off for doing that, but heck, who cares? Me and you, we're here to entertain, aren't we, and do a great job.
Absolutely.
Now, here is driver coach Sean Doyle. He's with Darren Howe. Darren Howe did a brilliant job in qualifying today. Well done to you, Darren. I'm conscious with the klaxons going, we've got to get to the front of the pack.
Right.
They made us walk so hard. Now listen,
this
an
is my
exclusive
favorite
in the
one.
Ferrari Challenge UK is the fact that for the first time we have a lady racer right here, Manuela Gosner-Sanella. It's
she's my
only right
favorite
that you
one.
speak to her, isn't it? Out of the way, Sergio, come on. Go and have a word.
Hi, Manuela. So, why you chosen the UK Challenge this year?
Hi, Sanella. Nice to having you in the pit lane here together with me. I'm so excited. The UK Championship has all of the best historical and legendary tracks, Donington and Alton Park and Snetterton and Brands Hatch. So I am super looking forward to race on those legendary tracks.
Thank you very much and good luck.
You're doing such a good job, Sanella. I'm going to be out of a job. You're going to be visiting the UK quite a lot. I can see that. You know, it's irritating to say the very, very least. Now, unfortunately, we were hoping to speak to Mike Dewhurst, but we're just genuinely not going to have time to do that. That was your first experience of being on the grid with Ferrari Challenge UK. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did having you alongside me. And you met the drivers, haven't you?
Yes, I'm so excited. It's such an experience, and thank you, Dave.
Right now, I've got to sprint to the commentary studio to get going. But before I do that, what I want to do is say that the entertainment is far from over, because the race is to come. 30 minutes plus 1 lap, Pirelli drivers, and of course Copa Shell drivers. And when it comes to Ferrari and the Ferrari Challenge, of course, normally we race on tarmac. But not only, because now and again we have an away day and we race on a slippery surface.
What an amazing image there from the very north. Here is Circuit Paul Ricard in the south of France, and that is that track for you. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Sanella, for taking us across the grid that includes all the cars and drivers which will take on this magnificent circuit. It's a high-speed circuit and offers some great racing in the UK. And we're only about 90 seconds away from the Richard Mille safety car getting underway. And Dave is sprinting, as he said, up to the commentary booth. And he will be there in time to bring you the grid and the race start from the commentary position. As you can see, 9.2 degrees Celsius is not extremely warm. And that means that when the cars get underway, they will have to do extra hard to bring the tires up to temperature. 1 minute remaining. And there is the star joining me here up in the commentary position. Almost made it look very, very much like he flew up here.
Flew is about the right word. Honestly, the grid was so packed with people, I didn't think how we're going to get through it all, Nico.
Yeah, it was great. Great to see you being there. And I think, from my point of view, humbly, I thought the atmosphere of the grid was very, very palpable. 30 seconds to go.
Well, Ferrari Challenge UK, and do you know what? I've been involved in every single one since we launched the UK Championship, Nico, and I consider it very much a privilege. And I have to say, the team at Ferrari have assembled a brilliant grid of cars for this season, and we're about to unleash them for their first race of the year. Very much looking forward to this. Cars released then on the formation lap, and the sun is beginning to shine. I don't believe it. Is that, do you think, because I was down on the grid?
For sure. You or Sanella somehow.
Yeah, but I think it was Sanella more than me then, maybe.
Yeah, but anyway, if you go back to how the day started, but let's look at the grid first.
John Turner goes from P14 and alongside is Hussein Sert. Then it's Peter Hunter and Andrea Seminara. Get your eyes on Peter Hunter, could be a danger man. Sean Rann and Joseph Dean going from P10 and P9. Then we see William Bolster and Ian Morris. They're on the 4th row of our Challenge UK grid. Darren Howell and Christopher Byton, they are P6 and P5. Manuela Gosner and Gilbert Yates, they're on the 2nd row of the grid. Gilbert Yates won't be happy about that. Because Mike Dewhurst goes from P2 and Gilbert Yates was bested by his son, Bradley Yates. His first pole position, I think, in Ferrari Challenge in his first race of his first full season. He has raced before. He did a couple of races at the end of last season, but this is going to be a full campaign for Bradley Yates. For Charles Hurst, Gilbert Yates, of course, 2-time champion in Trophio Pirelli. And yeah, going to be a very interesting season and very interesting to see how it plays out. Lots of stories to tell you, lots of excitement to come. It is going to be an epic year. Here we are then, opening the year in France, in the south of France, no less, for Ferrari Challenge UK. Ferrari Challenge, of course, very much a worldwide championship, and the UK forming part of that, and jolly glad we are about that. So, Circuit Paul Ricard, you can see the cars exiting the chicane on the Mistral straight right now, and well, just the technical part of the circuit, I think it's fair to say, Nico, before the race gets underway.
Indeed, and especially on this circuit, there are two almost distinct parts of the circuit, a very quick one with the long straights, and then the final sector which the cars are now entering, which we can see here. All those turns in front of us, that's obviously where you need the maximum downforce, and therefore setup for the cars is very much a compromise that the teams and the drivers have to figure out how to best approach that.
Yeah, and each and every one will have a different opinion of how to do that, won't they, in terms of what they want from their cars, because driving styles are different.
Driving styles are different, and then sometimes the position dictates that. If you think because of where you qualified, you will be more needing to overtake, you will need the top speed on the straights if you want to defend. Equally so, but equally you want to pull away while you're in the turn. So it's always a little bit of a trade-off, and that's what one of the many facets that make motorsport so exciting.
Absolutely. 30 minutes plus 1 lap is the race duration for Ferrari Challenge UK, and for Ferrari Challenge, this is going to be their race 1 for the UK series of 2026. Final sequence of turns to do. The Richard Mills safety car will peel off. It's always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge, and then we will be ready to go. Stand by. We throw the lights to the top of the screen for you. And on the front row of the grid, it's Bradley Yates and Mike Dewhurst. Mike Dewhurst, last year's Copa Shell champion, elevated to the Pirelli category for this season. Let's go racing! Gilbert Yates immediately trying to put the pressure on Mike Dewhurst. He goes side by side, and I think he'll get by Mike Dewhurst relatively quickly, and it will be Yates versus Yates, P1 and P2. Sure enough, it is son leading dad. Bradley Yates leads from Gilbert Yates, P2. Peter Hunter with a good start, and I expected that, to be honest. He was disappointed with his qualifying result. So I know for sure, having spoken to them, a great start from Manu Gosner as well, who's beginning to put the pressure on Mike Dewhurst. I know that there will be no quarter given between Bradley Yates and Gilbert Yates, and sure enough, Gilbert has gone through past his son already, and after about 3 or 4 turns has picked up the lead. So, young whippersnapper, he's going to show him the way to go, it would appear, Nico.
Yeah, lots of things happening very, very early on. Joseph Dean with a great start, others not so successful, dropping down the order quite a bit. But now we have very neat and tidy the Pirelli drivers out front, the Shell drivers behind. Will that stay like that the rest of the way? Oh, very, very audacious dive. From the bird's eye perspective, it worked. Could have gone very, very wrong, but it worked on that occasion.
So Gilbert Yates with 8 tenths ahead of Bradley Yates. Then it is Mike Dewhurst and Manu Gosner. Then Joseph Dean. Darren Howell leading in the Shell drivers ahead of Peter Hunter. I said Peter Hunter would be one to watch. from his lowly track position. He is up to P2 already. Sean Ran with a great job in P3. Then it's Christopher Baton, William Bolster, Hussein Surt, Ian Morris, Andrea Seminara and John Turner. Then in the Cobra Shell category. So Gilbert leading Bradley Yates ahead of Mike Dewhurst and Manu Gosner and Joseph Dean. They are the top 5, and there is Darren Howell, who I believe will come under pressure from the pale blue colours of the Peter Hunter car. Now, the start is under investigation. Now, that could be because it is a requirement, Nico, at the start of the race for all of the Ferrari Challenge drivers to be side by side, of course, but also to run through their grid boxes with at least 2 of their wheels.
Indeed, and that's something that race control, they have a lot of cameras, obviously, and they will have a clear look. We take a look at the start once again.
I wonder whether Gilbert Yates and his desire to get going quickly, whether he moved out of his grid box. It's really difficult to say. We'd have to really scroll it back, wouldn't we? But the start was under investigation. We've seen no more messages at the moment. But Gilbert Yates leading from Bradley Yates and Mike Dewhurst. That's the way it looks as we look at this replay of the start. And what a brilliant start from Peter Hunter.
Yeah, and one thing that's definitely good to see, that all the cars got away from the start cleanly, and sometimes the first race of the season lends itself to some drivers being over-ambitious and trying too much to win the championship effectively on turn 1, on lap 1, and very, very disciplined behavior by everybody to keep it clean and tidy.
I am being told that the start that was under investigation, there will be no further action. Everybody is happy with the way the start was. So that means that whoever was perhaps being looked at is not being looked at any longer. So Gilbert Yates leading, and having just seen that in replay, I think Bradley, inexperienced perhaps, just made a slight error, and that was all Gilbert needed to go through and to pick up the lead of the race. So Gilbert Yates stretching his legs now by 1.26 seconds. He has got a track limits warning, and so too has Bradley Yates. Mike Dewhurst doesn't. Joseph Dean has one, and Christopher Byton has one. The rest of the drivers at the moment are crystal clean. But we will see how that develops as the tyre wear goes down during the course of the race. 26 minutes plus 1 lap of this Ferrari Challenge UK race, and there, confirmation from race control, there will be no further action on the start. So Gilbert Yates, Bradley Yates, Mike Dewhurst, the top 3 Pirelli drivers. For the AM drivers, Darren Howell, Peter Hunter, Sean Ran.
Absolutely. You say tyre wear, obviously these slicks were not used in qualifying, but was way too wet. So these will be effectively fresh sets of tires with their maximum lifespan available to the drivers. And that means we can expect the drivers to make full use of that.
You can see the progress chart on the left-hand side of your screen, and it was Peter Hunter that made up 5 places, Joseph Dean that made up 4 places right at the start of the race. And very, very good driving by both of those drivers to put themselves in those positions. So well done to Joseph Dean and well done to Peter Hunter. Here we can see that, you know, Gilbert is not able to break away particularly from Bradley. It's under a second, the gap between the 2 Yates drivers, with Mike Dewhurst in that P3 place. I mean, these 2 are phenomenally quick, and they've broken away from Mike Dewhurst by quite some measure, I would say. Fastest laps coming from Manuela Gosner now, who is pressuring Mike Dewhurst. Now, this would be for the final podium place in Pirelli, and she's got Joseph Dean for company as well. So this could become and will become a 3-way fight for P3, Nico.
Yes, indeed. Now, I think Mike Dewhurst will be slowed down by the fact that he has to think about defending. And just a shout to Joseph Dean, who was rock bottom in qualifying for the vast majority, and then just leapfrogged a few drivers at the very, very end, and then continued that right at the start. And now he is, you know, just 2 overtakes away from a podium position. Very, very creditable.
Yes, he is, and Joseph Dean is a really, really likeable young man and doing a great job in the Ferrari Challenge UK. This is his 2nd season. So here we can see Manu Gosner. Now, Mike Dewhurst is a very cool character, and Manu Gosner is going to have to push hard. And I rather think that Manuela Gosner may find her aggressiveness charged if she begins to feel threatened from Joseph Dean. You know how it kind of makes you think, oh, right, I've got to get this done. We'll see if Joseph Dean is able to get on terms. I mean, they've got about a car's length between each other at the moment, haven't they? So we will see. There, once again, is the progress chart that we saw just a few moments ago. We're at 23.25 minutes plus 1 lap. And it's Gilbert Yates leading Bradley Yates ahead of Mike Dewhurst, who is now being chased hard by Manuel Agostner and Joseph Dean. Of course, what Joseph Dean wants is for these two to fight. To Mike Dewhurst, he accelerates now, but that was a good overtake from Manuel Agostner, clean, tidy, but Mike Dewhurst is trying to fight back here, and through the chicane there, well, Manuel Agostner, with lots and lots of experience of racing in the Ferrari Challenge in Europe, Nico. And Manuel Agostner, of course, comes into Trophio Pirelli in Ferrari Challenge UK as the European Copa Shell champion. So she knows her way around the 296 Challenge car, and as she executes a perfect drive through the chicane on the Mistral Straight, having got this overtake we are now seeing in replay done, just unsettled Mike Dewhurst. To be fair to Mike, racing room was left, Nico. He didn't defend too steadfastly, and good, clean, tidy driving. There's Giorgio Sernagiotto, husband to Manuel Agostner and team boss and coach to Manuel Agostner. So he'll be happy with that overtake, I would suggest, Nico.
Yeah, definitely, and you described it perfectly. She's got all the experience and great fair driving, as we've seen all day across the European and the UK Championship. And
hang on a minute.
Bradley and Gilbert Yates.
Hang on a minute.
Gilbert had another track limit infraction on the previous lap, so he's at 2. Plus, Bradley put in the fastest lap of the race, as we can just see, and that means has come down to just over half a second. Is Bradley playing the long game here?
Well, possibly. 21.5 minutes plus a lap. Now, Bradley could be really clever here, couldn't he? And he could push his dad into making a mistake. Now, you know, if he's on true 2-track limit warnings, Gilbert is. If Bradley were to push another one, and then another one, all of a sudden there's a time penalty, isn't there?
Yeah, that's
just saying, is a possibility.
On paper, that's true. Now, the family dynamics is playing out right in front of us, and we wouldn't want to have it any other way. There is Peter Hunter running in P2, and he was the one who made that audacious overtake into the chicane overtake.
Brilliant.
What it felt like was 17 cars in one queue.
Brilliant.
I'm exaggerating.
It's typical Peter Hunter style, I have to be honest. His driver coach, Fulvio Musi, I have to say they are a formidable combo, Nico. And Peter Hunter, whose entire family is here this weekend to watch him race in Paul Ricard. And yeah, he is without question a very big character in every sense of the expression, and a great racing driver as well. I think the world of Peter Hunter, I think the world of the entire grid of Ferrari Challenge UK drivers. Peter Hunter being chased by Christopher Byton at the moment, the Grey Paul Nottingham driver. All the drivers, of course, are supported by teams. I mean, Charles Hurst dealership is celebrating the most at the moment because they've got the top 2 with Gilbert Yates and Bradley Yates. And, well, the gap between Bradley and Gilbert is down to 3.5 tenths. So accelerating out of the final turn to put another lap in the book here. Live time across the timing line then right now, and the gap is down by, well, a couple of 1/100ths. We're running the telemetry, as you can see, when it goes from green to red in terms of kilometers per hour. That, of course, is the difference between acceleration and braking. And both of them are, it's almost a photocopy, isn't it, in terms of what they are doing. The other thing is, Nico, that, of course, Bradley is potentially getting an advantage of a slipstream from Gilbert as well. So Dad might be helping a bit here, and it was really interesting when I spoke to them post-qualifying. Gilbert said to me, it's a really odd feeling that you're both really annoyed but proud of your son at the same time, you know, because he bested him in quali. There's no doubting it.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure that must be a weird feeling, but I think, you know, in the moment in driving, there is a fair amount of respect, obviously, but there is also that extra ambition that, you know, if there's one person I want to do well, it's me, and then there's another one who's my kin, and then I want him to do well, but not too well.
Oh, hang on. Are we going to go for a move here? So Bradley Yates, Gilbert Yates, that's as close as they've been. The gap is down to a 10th between them. And Gilbert now, and he's not often had to defend quite so steadfastly. And if he makes a mistake, that will play into the hands of Bradley. Now, Gilbert is hugely experienced. I mean, you don't win 2 Trophio Pirelli championships in a row by being sloth-like in your driving. Gilbert is a brilliant driver, Nico. He was chased to the title last year by Pranav van Gala, and this year is being chased for the P1 position in race 1 by his son, Bradley. As I may have mentioned earlier on, Bradley made an appearance at the final round, having done Club Challenge, which is like a feeder into the Ferrari Challenge, and been very, very impressive. Well, you can see just how impressive that young man is right now, as he is within 4/10 of a 2-time champion, Nico.
Yeah, that is extremely impressive, and great to see those two driving fairly, but not, you know, just making space for each other. I think that's definitely is not something that he can be blamed for, and with 16 minutes and 45 seconds remaining, they have a solid gap of over 8 seconds on anybody else.
There's Benny, driver coach, looking on. I mean, you know, it's one thing driving the car, isn't it? But when you're a driver coach to a driver, you know, like team members, you know, they feel the emotions almost as much as the driver, don't they? Really interesting in Castellet how the fastest laps are changing now. Ian Morris is quickest for Maranello Sales with the fastest lap for our Shell drivers right now. And fastest lap is coming from Bradley Yates in the Trophio Pirelli drivers. So, yeah, we're about halfway-ish, aren't we? And here is Manu Gosner, who is on for a P3. Now, Darren Howell has managed to get past Joseph Dean. So Darren Howell, Cope Shell driver, has got past Joseph Dean. I just saw. And there is Bradley Yates, just taking a completely different line to Gilbert. There's an issue with a transponder on one of the cars, because certainly our graphics and timing screen is not showing Darren Howell ahead of Joseph Dean, but genuinely, I'm sure convinced I saw that on screen. As once again, Bradley Yates gets as close. It was 3.96 last time around, now it's 3.45. So we'll see as they cross the timing line now, whether that Joseph Dean, Darren Howell, whether those graphics change. So William Bolster has dropped a couple of places as well in our Shell category. And here comes Bradley Yates now on. Gilbert Yates with an overtake on the inside going into the chicane. Is he going to make it stick? I think he has. So Bradley Yates, after, you know, several corners and maybe 1 or 2 laps, has put it onto the old fella and got past him. So Bradley Yates is now leading Gilbert Yates with Manuel Agosta P2. In replay then, I mean, racing room left, in fairness, and why wouldn't you? But, I mean, that was a bold move by Bradley, and now that he's been released from the cork in the bottle that was his father, he's put a gap of a second already over Gilbert Yates. So Bradley, new into the championship, I want to say. I know he's raced in one event, but effectively, he's new into the championship. He's our Trophio Pirelli leader. Wow. Absolutely wow. There is Darren Howell, who's leading for JCT 600 Leeds in Coupachel. In fairness, I was quite clearly wrong. He hadn't got by Joseph Dean.
It looks like it. I mean, Mike Dewhurst, who is in front of Joseph Dean, livery is fairly similar. But there you can see, I mean, look at that gaggle of copper shell cars battling it out, very, very evenly matched. And it was that one overtake by Peter Hunter who overtook quite a few of them, but hasn't gotten away from them. And
Peter Hunter now with Fulvio, his driver coach, on the as we split the screen. Peter Hunter is getting ever closer now, isn't he? As running very wide there was Christopher Byton, and that puts him into the clutches of Sean Rann, who's lost out on a couple of places. But Fulvio is pushing Peter Hunter now, who is in P2 and is chasing down Darren Howell for Coupachel. So Darren Howell for JCT 600 leads, and Stratstone Manchester's Peter Hunter, P1, P2, and Peter Hunter taking completely different lines here, as you would expect of Peter Hunter. He's kind of that kind of guy, Nico. Big character, great racer, crossing the timing line. The gap between them is half a second, that's all. So quite a race going on in Coupachel. And may I say, in Trophio Pirelli, Bradley Yates has opened up a gap of 2 seconds over Gilbert.
yeah, and Peter Hunter really putting the pressure on. Christopher Baton and Jean Rand both had 3 track limit warnings, as now is Gilbert Yates. So quite a few of the drivers over the remaining 12 minutes and change need to be very careful, because one more excursion beyond the white lines would bring a 5-second penalty. So that also now comes into play as we enter the final third almost of this race.
What's really interesting is the big gap or the big battle that's going on in Shell is between Darren Howell and Peter Hunter, which is what we're watching right now. And neither Darren Howell or Peter Hunter have had a track limit warning. Here comes Peter Hunter on the inside, Nico, of Darren Howell. Racing room is left. Peter Hunter goes through. Darren tries to get the switch back. You can see how excited Peter Hunter's driver coach was. But Peter Hunter has gone through and picked up the lead in Coupachel ahead of Darren Howell. Darren Howell is trying to come back here. This is the race that's going on in Coupachel for the lead of the Coupachel race. Peter Hunter, who has moved up 6 places in this race. Superb driving from the Stratstone Manchester driver. Peter Hunter ahead of Darren Howell, and he's stretching his legs now, Nico, and has built a gap already. And Darren Howell then, who is an awesome driver and has done so well in his racing in the Ferrari Challenge. In replay, Peter just stuck his nose in where it was really not wanted. Darren tried to get him back on the switchback, but it wasn't going to happen, was it?
No, and he really timed that perfectly. Scrubbed off just enough speed to make the turn in before he reached the end of the turn effectively, and kept the momentum through the chicane. Very well executed, fair, good, maximum expertise, and a great fair piece of driving once again.
Great racing in the Ferrari Challengers. We have come to expect and love, to be fair. The number 81 car being driven by Christopher Baton for Grey Paul Nottingham. And new liveries across the cars this year for some of the drivers. And as I say, we've got some returning drivers and some new drivers. And I noticed a former Coupachel champion, Robert Rees, was actually on the grid, who's here to support and encourage drivers, which is nice. The sense of camaraderie in the Ferrari Challenge is awesome. Now, car number 1, Gilbert Yates, Nico, has received a time penalty of 5 seconds, which that will almost definitely bring Manuel Agostner up a place. Or can you do the calculation? You looking at the time for me?
Yeah. For the moment, that means that Manuel Agostner is currently running in the virtual P2, and actually I was about to say that it's only half a second that Gilbert Yates would need to find, but just as I say that, Manu Agostner finds another half second, and that puts that gap to over a second. So that's going to be something that we will need to watch over the remainder of the race. Christopher Baton also is indicated as having picked up his 4th track limit warning, and therefore is also up due a time penalty, which will drop him down from P3 in the shell class. So 2 times that the podium is potentially altered.
Yes, so Sean Rand taking advantage, Ian Morris potentially taking advantage as well. So you can see the confirmation of those penalties on screen for you. We've got 8 minutes remaining plus 1 lap of the Ferrari Challenge UK Race 1. Our Trophio, Pirelli and Copa Shell drivers performing here at the Castellet circuit, the Paul Ricard circuit here in the south of France.
Yeah, and Darren Howell, you can see, is putting the pressure again on Peter Hunter. Has closed the gap just a little bit once again. It's down to less than half a second. And so this battle for the win, potentially, in Copper Shell is far from over. Yeah, great drone work, seeing the cars snaking through that part of the track. It's the very, very westmost part of the circuit, as far away from start finish as you can get here at Le Castellet, and now they're circling back onto that back straight, and getting an exit through this kink is critical, because this throws you all the way towards that chicane, far, far away. But at the speed that the 296 Challenge is doing, it doesn't take all that long to get there. As we already saw, one supreme overtaking opportunity. And Peter Hunter made full use of that. Now he's more in defend and control mode. And whatever challenge Darren Howe wasn't trying to launch has subsided a little bit once again. Christopher Baton behind them in the orange car. Obviously he has suffered that 5-second penalty due to track limits, which brings Sean Rand into play for P3. But he also sits on 3 track limit warnings, and that is not the best position you want to be in. Ian Morris, you can see something loose on the panel. He just emerged from the pit lane, so whatever it was, he had to dive into pit lane, get that looked at, and fortunately has come out again.
Yeah, that's good to see. Back out. So, well, lots of drama in this Ferrari Challenge race. Which is not unusual for the Ferrari Challenge UK, that's for sure. Entertainment at the highest level. Peter Hunter leading for the Shell drivers ahead of Darren Howell. The gap is only 9/10 though. Make that 6/10 right now. Bradley Yates ahead of Gilbert Yates, but Gilbert, of course, with that time penalty to be added because of track limits excursions. There's Manu Gosner. And Mike Dewhurst running P4 on track at the moment ahead of Joseph Dean. There's Giorgio Sernagiotto, driver coach to Manu Gosner. Peter Hunter, Mike Dewhurst then so close together now. Peter Hunter, Darren Howell, I beg your pardon. So Darren Howell, he's wanting this win. He's wanting this P1 back. And I mentioned earlier on, Nico, that these 2 drivers, remarkably, it's only now that Darren Howell has picked up 1 drive-through warning. And he is tracking Peter Hunter really hard right now. And Christopher Baton right behind them also. So it's a 3-way fight that's going on here now for the podium places in Shell in terms of who's going to be where. Although, of course, Christopher Baton, you're right to point out, of course, has got penalties against him. Andrea Seminara does not, though. The HRON driver. And there's Darren Howell, familiar livery of the number 5 car. Always very, very well supported by his family. And Peter Hunter in the pale blue livery, who is leading for the Shell drivers with 4.5 minutes plus a lap remaining. Ferrari Challenge UK Race 1.
Yeah, and Andrea Seminara has gotten past Sean Rand, who was previously in that position behind Baton. We didn't quite see what happened there, but in any event, that order has been changed. And for the moment, Seminara is just about at that 5-second gap that Baton would lose due to the penalty. So it's still going to be interesting how that plays out. Manu Gosner, we saw her gap is significantly less than 5 seconds to Gilbert Yates. On track, there is the Ian Morris car between the 2. But obviously not figuring in that battle whatsoever. 3.5 minutes remaining, plus that one lap, and this battle for Shell, I feel fairly safe in saying that's going to heat up once again.
I think that's fair. William Bolster is going to pick up a time penalty now of 5 seconds as he's exceeded the track limit warnings level I've just seen on my information screen. I think you're right. I think it is going to hot up before the end of this race. And I think Darren Howell would really like to take this from Peter Hunter. The camaraderie, as I mentioned earlier on, and there's confirmation of that time penalty I was just talking about, the camaraderie in the Ferrari Challenge right across the world, in whatever region, but also in the UK is great. But, of course, when you're out there racing, friendships are kind of forgotten about, aren't they? You want to do the best you can. Absolutely awesome stuff here. So it's Yates, Ghostner, but that's not the way it's going to be. You can see the red bar on the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen indicates that a 5-second time penalty is going to apply to that particular driver. And at the moment, that applies to Gilbert Yates, to Chris Byton, and also to William Bolster. So there's Manu Ghostner, who truthfully hasn't got to push too hard. The most impressive for me, Nico, is Bradley Yates, who 3.7 seconds to the good, irrespective of time penalties to come, is just doing a wonderful job.
Yeah, 100%. But also Manu Ghostner, who obviously she was Challenge champion in Europe, and that is a achievement in itself. But she's mixing it up with the Pirelli drivers. It's a different region, but they are Pirelli drivers, and we have seen when we got the different categories together, like at the World Final. I mean, it's not like there is a huge difference at all. So very, very good showing from her. As we can see, and you know, Christopher Bayton, penalty or not, doesn't really care. He's there on track and he's got track position.
Well, Darren would be wise not to try and defend this too much, wouldn't he?
Yes and no. He wants to get on terms, obviously, with Peter Hunter. And having a car between him and Hunter is not advantageous necessarily, but
no.
Crashing and colliding equally isn't. So rock and hard place, welcome to stage.
Yeah, fair point. Of course, what Darren may also be thinking is if Bayton has got that much speed advantage, if he's going to take the chase to Peter Hunter, it could play into the hands of Darren Howell as well. With a yellow flag at turn 8.
Which is the chicane, and that means even if nothing else happens, the overtaking opportunity which these drivers potentially are heading for
is not there.
Is not there, because that's the place where you can't overtake right now.
Yes, if a yellow flag is enforced, and you can see it there right on our camera lens, you're not allowed to overtake there. Can we see the reason for that? Not sure. Oh, yes, there is a car there. Which car is that? I think it's Ian Morris, the Maranello sales driver, potentially, or it could be John Turner for Stratstone Manchester. Now, of course, we have that waved yellow means that cars have to slow down as well, which you could see. They're all bunching together there, weren't they? There is Manu Ghostner. Chasing down Gilbert Yates in Trophio Pirelli. And we have a mix of drivers, Trophio Pirelli with the red strip across the top of the windscreen and Copachel with the yellow strip across the windscreen that are racing. Bradley Yates is leading the race in Ferrari Challenge.
Yeah, and the clock has struck quadruple zeros, but Bradley Yates has crossed the timing line before that happened, so it's the remainder of this lap plus
one more. So this gives opportunity potentially to some drivers to perhaps somewhere other than this chicane on the Mistral Straight to be able to take advantage of maybe an additional lap, really. But for the moment, so Bradley Yates, Gilbert Yates, Manuel Ghostner on track, the Pirelli drivers, the Shell drivers, Peter Hunter, Darren Howell, Chris Byton, Andreas Seminara moved up so many places, Sean Rann and William Bolster, Hussein Sert, John Turner and Ian Morris. There you can see the yellow and blue colours of Darren Howell being chased by Chris Byton here. And when Bradley Yates crosses the line now, Nico, it will be into the final lap, won't it?
Absolutely, and Darren Howell apparently got past Byton once again, so he has Peter Hunter in front of him. He also has his third track limit warning, so he can't do too adventurous things here in the dying stages. But it all comes down to this very final lap. I think Bradley Yates in a very strong and commanding position, especially with this overtaking opportunity here removed from the equation.
No question about that. Andrea Seminara with a really, really distinctive colour scheme across his 296 Challenge car that we were seeing just a moment ago. We're on the final lap of this first Ferrari Challenge UK race 1 of our campaign for 2026. Peter Hunter then came here meaning business. That's for sure. His qualifying, by his own admission, was not where he wanted it to be. He actually said to me at lunch, "Don't even talk to me, Dave." So I didn't. I don't think he was being rude. I just think he was disappointed with himself. But he's righted the wrongs of qualifying at the moment, Nico, I would suggest.
Oh, 100%, and whatever happens from here on out, great performance by him, and again, great performance by everybody here on the grid for being very, very disciplined, fair, and quick across this Le Castellet circuit, which not all the drivers are familiar with.
No, that's a very fair point, a very fair point. So, well, young whippersnapper is a word I've used to describe Bradley Yates. He is young, he's quite clearly talented, and he is quite clearly finding water duck similarity with a 296 Challenge car, because my goodness me, I was impressed with him when I met him for the first time at the final round of the Challenge UK last year, when he came out, and wow, what a job he has done. Gilbert Yates, meantime, has chased, but Bradley Yates is going to head towards the checkered flag and become a Trophio Pirelli Ferrari Challenge winner. Manuel Agosner takes P2. Gilbert Yates will be on the podium, P3. Then it should be Mike Dewhurst and Joseph Dean, but we are catching up right now with the Shell drivers, and it's Peter Hunter ahead of Darren Howell. Now, Christopher Byton in there with a time penalty, which would mean Andrea Seminara moves up to P3 as it stands in Copa-Shell. Dewhurst and Joseph Dean have crossed the timing line, so we're watching this Copa-Shell. And Peter Hunter into the final sector of this circuit ahead of Darren Howell and Christopher Byton. As I say, Christopher is going to drop down. Andrea Seminara, I think, is going to be P3, which is going to be a heck of an achievement for him. So Peter Hunter, who's not known for the mildness of his celebrations, it has to be said, heads towards the checkered flag with lights flashing aplenty, and Darren Howell hugging the wall. He takes P2. Byton is across the line, P3, but here comes Andrea Seminara, and Byton did manage to hold on to that P3. Fulvio Musi and the team from Stratstone, Manchester are delighted, Nico, that Peter Hunter has done it.
Yeah, I mean, great achievement and great race. The move of the race, I would say. That dive from very far back into the chicane could have gone very, very wrong, but great fair driving by everybody.
If you could sum up his character in a driving move, that was it.
Is it a little bit Dario Castle reminiscent?
Yes, I would agree completely, and I think Peter would be quite flattered by that. He is just awesome, absolutely awesome.
So, slow down lap, everybody coming into Parc Fermé around the track. It is a fairly long track, so that takes a few seconds, but proper credit to all the drivers, especially those, obviously, who made it all the way up onto the podium. and have left their mark on this race.
Mark being the operative word. I can tell you. Well, the Ferrari Challenge UK, it never fails to disappoint, quite clearly.
Parc Fermé, and you will see some celebration. And Bradley Yates, he was the first to cross the timing line, and he will be the first to be congratulated, at least on our camera, as we can see the Manuel Agostna car to our right, just in shot. I have to say, I was expecting actually even more emotions from that after the great achievement and great drive that he had. Manu Agostna, the first podium in her career in Ferrari Challenge UK. I hasten to add, he has been so successful in Europe already over many years. Just trying to listen in. Not sure we all understood everything, but I think the gist and the emotion was very, very obvious and transparent. Well done, mate. Yeah, I can agree with that. Definitely a great race. Diligent members of the Corsa Caliente team here in Le Castellet, making sure that everything is running according to plan and schedule. And everything went according to schedule for Bradley Yates. No, not actually. He surrendered his lead at some point and had to work to get it back. But get it back he did. And I'm sure we will hear how he feels about that. Sanella, who we saw together with Dave on the grid, she's welcoming Bradley Yates, and she will make sure she learns how that race felt for Bradley Yates, race winner.
Bradley, so congratulations. How difficult was the race for you?
It was tough, yeah. I was very nervous after the start, so I made a couple of mistakes. My dad passed me and I thought, I don't know if I'll be able to catch it. He pulled away a little bit, but then I settled in, felt super good, and started just trying to focus on each corner, and then I was closing the gap, and yeah, I just started driving super well.
So what was going through your mind in the final laps?
In the final laps, just take no risk. I had track limits in hand, so I didn't want to get to the point where I was close to a time penalty, so I was just kind of 90%, just making sure I didn't crash or spin or anything like that, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Young whippersnapper that he is, as Dave said, driving very much with his head. Very aware, thanks also to his team, about where he is, track limit warnings, etc. I mean, there is some maturity and talent right there. And we get to Peter Hunter in but a few moments. He made the move of the race, in my humble opinion. And we will hear how that race went from his point of view. After the qualifying Dave described didn't go according to plan, the race very much did. Well, we will see if we get that interview for you, but in any event, here is another look at the stripes of this Le Castellet circuit. Here's a look at the championship standings. Obviously, Bradley Yates, race winner, topping the charts. Manuel Agostna, P2, Gilbert Yates, Mike Dewhurst, and Joseph Dean. Not surprisingly, the order that they finished in. But there is a lot of racing still to be done. There is the Drivers' Championship for Copper Shell. Peter Hunter, Darren Howell, Christopher Baton, Andreas Seminara, Jean Ray, William Bolster, Sir Turner. Those are your top 8 after race number 1. Ian Morris, unfortunately the only driver we lost in this race. Great, respectful driving. At the risk of repeating myself, very, very good to see, especially on an unfamiliar track and especially when it's the first race of the season. So we have potentially an interview, but for sure the podium to come up, and I think it's only going to be a few more minutes before we get there. So, what's in store tomorrow? We will have 3 more qualifying sessions in the morning, starting at 9 a.m. And from 2 p.m. we have race 2 of all the categories. Before that, here are the highlights from race 1 in Ferrari Challenge UK. Was a very, very good start initially from Bradley Yates. It was also a very good start from Gilbert Yates, who made it into P2 immediately. Darren Howell, eventual race winner in Shell, also with a good start, and then into the hairpin at the end of this first part of the track, the first sector. It was Gilbert Yates who made the overtake that Bradley described, having had opened the door a little bit by making a few mistakes in his own opinion. That was Manu Gosner going up into P3, overtaking Mike Dewhurst. And then here was Bradley Yates returning the favor on his dad, reclaiming P1, and there was the overtake of Peter Hunter for the lead of the race in Coppershell. Darren Howell tried to claw that back and made a very, very good effort. But there were more overtakes, more than we could show you live in the race. But at the very end, it would be Bradley Yates who took the checkered flag first, on track in front of Gilbert Yates, but Manu Gosner, because of track limit penalties, got P2. It was Peter Hunter to take P1 in Shell. And as I understand, Sanella now has Peter Hunter underneath the podium for that elusive interview.
Hi Peter, congratulations. So, did you expect to win today?
It's not that I expected to win. I was doing a lot of winning last season, but I've not been in the car for 5 months. I qualified terribly. First time at this track. So all I got was 2 50-minute sessions, not done any testing or anything like that. First qualifying was obviously, first test, free practice was nice and warm and sunny. And then obviously the second one, well, they both were all right, but then obviously qualifying today was raining, so it just changed the dynamics of everything. But yeah, I just give it my all, balls out, yeah.
Would you like to thank someone for this victory?
I would. I'd like to thank myself for putting in all the hard work. No, I'd like to thank my coach Fulvio for just guiding me and just keeping patience with me. I'd like to thank everyone around me, all my family and that, for supporting me. And I'd also like to give a shout out to a girl back home in Dubai called Diana. I know she's been struggling a little bit lately, and I thought I'd give her a shout out.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you. Good.
And so
here we are then, ready to get our podiums underway, and what a privilege it is for me to say that it's going to be Pirelli first of all. Please give it up for our drivers as they make their way to the podium. P3 in Pirelli for UK, Gilbert Yates! Here comes P2, super lovely Manuela Gosner. Slightly less lovely, but a brilliant win for Bradley Yates. And of course, a representative from the team, Charles Hurst, is here. Certainly not lovely. And I assume a national anthem plays out right now.
P3, Trophio Pirelli in the UK. Right now, let's invite Ferrari factory driver Alessio Rovera to make the trophy presentations. First of all, of course, to Gilbert Yates. He's got one or two, you know. And up next, of course, it will be the P2 trophy for Manuela Gosner. And the race winners trophy is going to go to Bradley Yates. But of course, that's not all. We have the team's trophy as well to be presented to Charles Hurst. They breed them good over there, you know. Well done, Charles Hurst. And of course, we're not done yet because Simone Mangia is here for Pirelli Business Development Special Motorsport to make the Pirelli Trophy presentation to Bradley Yates. So, drivers, guests, presenters, please on the top step of the podium, if you can all squeeze up there, get warm and cozy and lovey together. Big smiles all round, trophies up high, come on, let's celebrate, you are fantastic. Right, and just the drivers right now. Alessio, you need to come back in a minute. I want to see you get soaked, friend. Right, once I get the okay from my photographer, Lee, he's a bit bossy. Who is going to be winning the champagne race? I think it was Bradley.
Here are the cars that propelled our podium finishers to their positions. Gilbert Yates, Manuela Gosner, and of course, last but definitely not least, Bradley Yates, race winner and our first leader in Trophio Pirelli for Ferrari Challenge UK. That's not all, we have another podium for you to come, which is Ferrari Challenge UK Coppa Shell.
And goodness help us, taking the race win at last, Big Peter Hunter! At last, for a long time, he's back on the top step of the podium, and the team to celebrate. Martin's here from Stratstone, Manchester as well. So, with all the drivers there, please can we play the national anthem? Fantastic stuff. It's divvy up of the trophies time now, where once again Ferrari factory driver Alessio Rovera makes the trophy presentations. First of all, to Chris Bayton, P3. Taking the really rather lovely P2 trophy is Darren Howell. And taking the race winners trophy, it's Peter Hunter, whose mild celebrations are legendary. Okay, of course, the Stratstone Manchester organisation are in receipt of a trophy as well. And we invite everyone, including Martin, to stay here for the photographs. Big smiles, trophies up high if you will. And just the drivers right now on the top step of the podium. Well done, everybody. Big smiles all round. Peter Hunter, your flies are undone, just thought I'd mention that.
And with you happy, drivers, it's time to celebrate. Who's going to win this race?
Final look at Christopher Baton, P3, overcame a track limit penalty to make it onto the podium. Great driving, especially towards the very end, where he kept it together and kept his gap. Darren Howell, he led the race for quite some time. It only was Peter Hunter who made the move to relegate him to P2, but as you could see, very, very happy with that podium to start the season. And Peter Hunter, 2 legendary overtakes in one race, overcoming qualifying. Our first leader in Copper Shell in the UK for 2026. That was it from the first day at Le Castellet. Europe and the UK returning tomorrow morning for qualifying and tomorrow afternoon for the race. Thanks so much for watching from Dave Sanella, the Bowl Production. Thanks so much. See you tomorrow.